Check, check, 1 2 1 2. What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back. It's your boy Blue. Hopefully you guys have been having a great day so far wherever you are watching in the world. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Got an excited one today. We're here checking out the brand new scenery by Airworthy Designs, Saint Martin, or also known as Princess Juliana International Airport. One of the really most popular airports in the world for people to visit. It's a great location, great for plane spotting. It's famous location. I've loved this scenery on X-Plane as well, but this is a huge upgrade from the X-Plane 11 version, and man, I'm loving it. You can see right now we're just hanging out at the hotel. We're gonna make our way all the way to our plane. Our plane's actually right over there, that KLM 787. If you guys want to join us, we're on the USA East server, all players. So come through to TNCM. And yes, sir, today is election day here in the United States. So it's a pretty crazy day. Obviously, a lot of discussion going on there. We will not be discussing it, though. I'm not a political person at all. But today's election day. And, if you're old enough to vote, do what you gotta do, my friends. But welcome to the stream, guys. Juno Capri. I'm just gonna shout outs while we head down from our hotel. Our hotel suite. Matter of fact, I'm gonna hop over. I like this hotel a little bit better. This is my real hotel. Look at this. This is so sick. This is so sick. Anyways, we're gonna head downstairs, catch the elevator. There we go. All right, we're at the bottom. All right, but DJ Malfufi, welcome to the train. We went down too many floors. Malfufi, good to see you. Juno Capri, welcome to the stream. Bohemian Pilot, welcome to the stream, my friend. Good to see you. CCW Learner, welcome to the stream. Winter You, hello and welcome to the stream. We're gonna head over here and pick up a few drinks for the flight. And I know the flight attendants were asking us to bring over some stuff for them. They just got into from the inbound flight, so very nicely done here. Look at this, man. Look at this nice pool. The reflections off of the pool looking sweet. Tino Star, welcome to the stream, my friend. Red Arrow, welcome to the stream. Toast, good to see you. What up, my Twitch family? Good to see you guys. IFNG, welcome back, man. Thank you for the mod today. Drew Manis, welcome to the stream. Travis Molly something, welcome to the stream. Good to see you, my good friend. Looks like they may be closed. There's like no one here. Super dope. All right, so this is my favorite thing about this scenery. Captain I, welcome to the stream. Chester Hernandez, hola, saludos. Good to see you, my friend. You got the people walking. So this is a huge upgrade from the X-Plane 11 version. We just had like some paper cut people standing around in X-Plane. But in Microsoft Flight Simulator, they have reanimated all of the 3D people down here, and they look super freaking excited. If you turn the music up, they're having a party out here. Just wait for it. Wait for that beat to drop. These guys are gonna go crazy. Drew, good to see you, man. Don't forget to go swimming. I'll try my best not to. Christopher Ramirez, welcome to the stream. Hey, why are they not jumping anymore? Come on, the music is on. Let's go. Yeah, he's dancing. He's got the right move. There it is. Hey, hey. We're gonna have a good time today, guys. You can see the weather's nice. I hear a plane, actually. Yeah, nobody's on final right now. But yeah, honestly, this is, so far, from what I have seen and experienced, this is my favorite, and I would say the best and most well done scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator so far in 2020 since the release. We got danger, jet blast of departing arriving aircraft can cause severe physical harm, resulting in extreme bodily harm or death. Yeah, you might want to stay away. But so cool. We got the girl right here taking selfies. She's ready. She is so ready. So today we'll be flying from Saint Martin over to the Dominican Republic, and then we'll coming right back here to check it out. Here's the Driftwood Boat Bar. Are you hungry? We will feed you. Thirsty? We will get you drunk. Lonely? I can't see what the rest of that says. Star, welcome to the stream, man. Good to see you. Blink, welcome to the stream, my friend. Captain Cross Country, welcome back, man. Got your Speedo. I'm ready. I'm all the way ready for today's flight. Whatever may happen. Saint Martin, guys, welcome to Saint Martin. All right, we're gonna hop on the bus, the virtual bus, and take a drive over to our terminal. There's so much to see in this scenery. I've been checking it out before we started the stream today, and I am so impressed by this scenery. It's so well done by Airworthy Designs. Matter of fact, it includes 2 airports. It includes this one and TFFG, which is Grand Case. Another one of my I wouldn't say favorite, but I really enjoy that airport. It's just like, I don't know, a 5-minute flight in a Cessna from here, so it's pretty darn close. No problem, IFMG, man. I understand, man. A lot of you guys have been real busy lately. Just catching the cab over to the terminal behind everything. I think you can see it's very well done. The modeling looks really good out here. And at first I was really debating on picking this up. I mean, not because I thought it wasn't going to be bad. I don't know. You know, I'm just really kind of being careful with, you know, there's so much scenery coming out, and you really have to pick and choose which ones you get, because you'll definitely go broke if you want to go and buy every single one of them. All right, this is our turn right here. Princess Juliana International Airport. All right, bus and taxi only. Well, we are a bus, so let's hop inside. Did I see a drop in FPS after the updates? Not that I know of. Happy Carnival. Okay, I like the banners. This looks nice. Look at that. You can see there is an interior. There's departure, so that's where we'll be heading. I want to check out some of this before we go in there, because this looks incredible, man. I am so impressed by this scenery. This is what I've been looking forward to when it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator payware scenery. Princess Juliana International Airport. Look at that. That looks incredible. That looks so good. That looks so good, man. JD Bear, welcome to the stream, man. Good to see you. Pilot Raid, hello, welcome back, man. Again, guys, if you want to join us, group flights are welcome today, guys. 2 short flights, only an hour long, is the route out and back. Again, flying over to what's it called? The Dominican Republic. I think it's Punta Cana. I'm not really sure the name. I don't think it's Punta Cana though. All right, we're gonna head back over here. Actually, no, let's do this side. This is fine. This is the closest door to us. Alright, I'm gonna hop in here, and look at that interior. Very well done. I don't remember the X-Plane version having an interior. Look at this. You can go ahead and get your rental cars here. Got the shops going on inside. Look at this. This is just incredible, man. Subway, eat fresh. There's 2 Subways. I don't approve of that. You should at least put a Burger King next to it or something. Alright, cool. So food court is that away. We can go in here and check in. Go here, check our bags real quick, walk through here, talk to the lady. Thank you, thank you. All right, we drop a bag off there. And then go ahead and head back here, and then we'll go hop on our plane. Don't the sunglasses make it harder to see? Absolutely, yes, it does. I'll be taking them off here in a little bit. All right, is there stairs? How do we get upstairs? All right, we're just gonna, oh, there they are. There's the escalators over there. I'm lost already. I need directions. Blink 242. Oh, it's blocked. Why is it blocked? I like the advertisements in here. Airworthy design, simulation software. Very nice. Smile again. I want to come in this way and take the escalator. Bloop, 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 bloop. All right, we're up. This is so cool. You could literally walk around in here. Like, come on, airport scenery simulator. Come on. You can see upstairs is fully modeled as well. You got the relay. There's the duty-free shopping. Yeah, there is duty-free selection. We got the sunglasses. I need some new sunglasses, by the way. I really do need some new sunglasses. We got some advertising space. Go ahead and airworthy designs. If you happen to see this, go ahead and throw a BLUGAMES or Blue Arrow advertisement on that wall. I would like to advertise on that wall, sir. Go ahead and put that in the 1.01 update. I would love to see that. Appreciate that. You can see, man, look at this. We got planes lined up. We got lot 787 right there. That's cool. And then we got obviously our plane over. That's our ride over there. That's 787. That's our ride. Let's go. Chief Sim Pilot, welcome back, man. Good to see you. Yeah, they don't have any passengers walking around inside, which I think would be pretty cool. I wouldn't be surprised, knowing airworthy designs and how dedicated they really are to their products. I think there's got to be way to the other side here. Is there more? Okay, here we go. They probably come out with an update. And that's freaking cool. Look at that. All right, that's our ride over there. How do we get into the... Where's the jetway? Let's take the jetway. I think this might be the entrance into the jetway. Yep, there we go. I am looking at this place inside freaking out right now. I'm telling you guys, scenery developers, if you're gonna make scenery, if you want me to look at them, oh, we're in this thing. Now we're on board. That's pretty cool. You gotta be honest with you. I am gonna be all up in there. There we go, Lieutenant. I think it's Cynthia is with us again. Thank you very much, Cynthia. I can't see her. There she is. All right, let's get it. Airworthy Designs, that is correct. Daniel 506, welcome to the stream, man. Let's go ahead and take the shades off so we can get the aircraft set up for today's flight. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Again, I know it's a bit of a, was that a long intro? I don't know how, oh yeah, it was a bit of a long intro. But welcome to the stream, guys. We're in the Boeing 787. This is the XE mod, by the way. I should go ahead and point that out. This is not the default 787. Can't wait for the quality wings. Thank you, Jonathan, for that. Cheers, my friend. Thank you very much for that. I do greatly appreciate that. But yeah, man, let's get going. Let's get going. All right, so I guess everything is not on yet. Let's go and turn the music down. Not using any special sound packs or anything like that for today's flight. Just that good old regular smegula. Yeah, battery's already on, but our screens are not. I think it's because of whatever that button does on my yoke. Maybe not. Did I break it? I've been sitting here for quite a long time. It's possible that it broke itself. Let's go ahead and get the APU turned on, or attempt to get it turned on. Your class is watching a movie, Juno? That's dope. I always used to love those days, man. I used to love when you go to school and the teacher was like, all right, there's a movie today. I'm like, all right, cool. I am down. Yes, the link to the scenery is in the description, guys, if you want to check it out. Right now, it's available on the sim market, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be available, you know, on the Microsoft Store marketplace as well. Nav light's coming on, logo light, you don't need it, it's daytime. And, you know, I don't know that this plane is working. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. I don't know that this plane is working right now. Because, like, everything says that it's on, but it's not acting like it's on. As you can see, all of our screens are off. So this is what I'm gonna do, just for the sake of starting fresh and Subway eat fresh. We're gonna hit restart. It's okay, we're just gonna be right back on the gate. I haven't done anything at all, so we should be good to go. Pilot Krish, hello, good to see you. Live in the mountain after runway 28. Wait, you live in the mountain after runway 28? Oh, that's pretty cool. That's dope. Cue that. What up, man? Go to the stream. Cue that music. Ciao. From Italy. Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. All right, we're back in this thing, and you can see now everything is on. Why? I don't know. Don't know. Or it's halfway on. Is this? Okay, there we go. I'm like, Now, I mean, this could be broken. Who knows? I'm telling you, like I said before, if it's going to break, it's going to break in this live stream. How do you get landing rates? The way I do it, there's probably multiple ways in Microsoft to do it. The way that I do it, I use a third-party application called Sim Toolkit Pro. It's free. It does a lot of things. It doesn't just give you your landing rates. It gives you a ton of stuff. I'm not going to go into all that right now, but I do recommend it. I do recommend it. Okay, so let's get the jetway back connected. And we'll get started today. We'll be on Vatsim again. I need to connect. And when I do connect, we will be on Vatsim. But I am planning on flying this flight on Vatsim. Most likely, we will not have any ATC, and that is all good. We'll just be on Unicom. But if you're on X-Plane or P3D, you could always join us on Vatsim. So, all right. So battery's already on, which is weird. I'm not sure how it got on, but it's on. APU is starting, I think. I think the APU is starting. I really don't know how to know if the APU is on or not. Been flying too much Airbus lately. That's the problem. Skyhawk Sim Pilot, welcome to the stream, man. Welcome back. Welcome back. Christopher, fun fact: you were the first passenger in that terminal. You were there the day it opened, although it was like 2 or 3 years old when that happened. That's cool. That's really cool, man. I've never been out here before. I would love to come out. Would love to come out here to St. Martin. I bet it's a great place to visit. I'm just gonna assume that it's working. Let's go ahead and get our flight plan set up. That's what's gonna take the longest. Other than that, we'll be good to go. All right, position initialization. We're here at Tango November Charlie Mike. Let me make sure that that's the name, right? That's correct. Yeah. Okay, just making sure. All right, there it is. And then we'll go ahead and copy that over here. And we'll go to route. And okay, I don't know why it doesn't copy it automatically, but it's all good. Tango November Charlie Mike. Let's go ahead and put that there. And the origin destination today is Mike. I think it's Mike Delta Papa Charlie. Mike, where is it? Delta Papa Charlie. All right, that's in there. And now let's go ahead and go into the next page. Here we go. Oh, actually, no. Let's go to departure arrival. We do actually have a departure. Surprisingly, for such a short flight, we actually do have a departure out of here. And let me take a look at what that is. Frontier 18. Welcome to the stream, man. Welcome back. Do I have FSUIPC? Oh, I do, but I think you're asking about somebody else. More 2 departure is what we're doing today. Or the motor. Motor 2 departure. And then what runway is it that's the takeoff runway? I can't remember the name. Let me see. Let me look at my charts. This is what charts are for. Alright, runway 10 is what we want. Alright, that's what that's already put in. Just making sure. Just want to confirm that that was correct. And go back to route. No, next page. It's the juice. It says motor to dandy, but that's not what we want. We want juice. We want some juice on this departure. That's what we need. Huh, interesting. It doesn't give me the option to have juice, so I guess we'll just not do juice. Juice is in my flight plan. It's motor to juice, not motor to whatever they said. Yeah, juice is the waypoint. Let me take a look at our departure here in my. Malfufi says, be careful in the 787 in Microsoft Flight Simulator has stupid braking during landing. Don't use full auto brakes. Use 2 or 1 for the reversers. Don't use full. It can stop in 100 feet if you do the opposite. Good to know, man. Thank you for the warning. I appreciate that, bro. This will actually be my first time. Mike P3D, welcome to the stream, man. Good to see you, man. What were you asking? Oh, appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. What was I gonna say? I already forgot what I was gonna say. Oh well. Yeah, I haven't flown the 787 yet. This is actually my first flight. That's what I was gonna say. First flight in the 787 since the update, and this is the 787XE. So I don't know if it has any particular issues with it. You know what I'm saying? So we'll find out for sure. But thank you for the heads up. I wasn't planning on using more than 2. I usually try to stay below 2 on the auto brakes if possible. All right, we have an airway Bravo 520. Again, short flight plan. Not in database. You a lie. You a lie. Clear. Bravo 520. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Try it again. Not in database. All right, well, I guess we'll skip it. Don't know why. And we'll just go direct then to ANTEX. So ANTEX. And don't tell me that's not in the database, because I know it is. All right, there it is. Swiss 001, what's up, bro? Good to see you, man. Welcome back. Long time no see, absolutely, man. Hopefully you've been doing well. I know I've been seeing your adventures in the Cirrus out there in Germany, so congrats on that, man. Really happy for you, bro. All right, NT1 Charlie, and then it's weird, like it's not really giving me all the options I should be getting right now. Okay, don't click on the speed brake. Move that back. Thank you. Departure, arrival, NT1 Charlie, execute, I guess. Yeah, this is weird. This is weird. So it lets me put the arrival, but it doesn't let me do anything about like what approach I want, which is again very weird. So we're probably gonna have to do the visual. Hopefully the weather is not too bad out there. Ross Grimshaw and Groover Jupiter. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I don't see it. I see ANTEX, MESPA. Yeah, we're just going to go with it. This is why I don't fly this plane very often, because there's all kind of weird stuff. All right, so let's go to performance initiation. We're going to be cruising at 36,000. Again, this flight's going to be about, about an hour long. We'll be getting a nice look at Puerto Rico on the way, or maybe if the clouds are, if the cloud cover is nice. The cost index would be 20. Execute that. Everything else looks okay. That works for me. Takeoff flaps will be, I think in this plane we do like, we'll do 10. I don't really know. We'll do 10. Oops, not 1. I want 10. 1 0. There it is. All right, that looks good. That looks good. All right, cool. All right, ready to go then. That's basically a rough flight plan to get us to where we're going. We're gonna have to shoot the visual into is it Punta Cana? What the heck's the name of the airport, guys? I keep forgetting. Daryl Gowdy, thank you for the subscription, my friend. Welcome to the Blue Arrow Royal family. Great to see you. Glad to have you, man. Hopefully you've been enjoying the content. I do appreciate you coming through. Let me see, because that's bothering me. What the heck is the name of this airport? Jake, what up, man? Good to see you. Sunflovet, what up, man? Let me get my charts ready. And I'll bring it up on screen so I don't look like I'm hiding anything. There it is. All right, here's our charts for today's flights. Or some of them. Let's go ahead and get the other ones. Click. Yes, Punta Cana. I knew it was Punta Cana. I didn't want to say it if I was incorrect. Adrian Perez, hello. Welcome to the stream, man. Good to see you. And thank you for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow Royal family. All right, taxi chart. We need that. Approach chart. We are going to be expecting when we get to Punta Cana runway 26. And it's going to be an RNAV. They don't have any ILSs. Interesting. It's okay, we're doing visual anyway, so we'll do the RNAV GNSS runway 26. And for our star, we want ANTEX. None of these actually have names. Okay, here we go. We want ANTEX 1 Charlie. That's not it. That's not it. Thank you, Unknown Meme. Thank you, my friend, for that subscription. Welcome to Blue Royal family. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming out. All right, here it is. This is the one I want. All right, charts are ready to go. We'll get the taxi chart here. Pretty simple, obviously. There's like one runway and one way to get there, so it shouldn't be very difficult to taxi. So we're not going to worry too much about that. I do need to get connected to Vatsim because I said I was going to be on Vatsim, and I have not connected yet, so let me go ahead and do that. Call sign today will be KLM116. And let's go ahead and take that off our screen before I forget. Polish Airlines in the building with the A320neo over there too. I see you, buddy. Damien, what up, man? Good to see you. All right, hold on. Just give me 1 second, guys. I am filing our flight plan on Vatsim. And done. I love how fast and easy that is now. Love it, love it, love it. All right, let's go ahead and connect. I hear a plane out there. KLM116. We are in the 788 or 78. I think, is it the 788 or 810? It's a 10, I think, right? A 10 variant. Sebastian, what up, my friend? Thank you very much for that subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family, man. Great to see you. Thanks for coming out, hanging out with us. I do appreciate it. All right, we're ready to push back. And another one. What up, Sahal Shah? I wish I knew how to pronounce that correctly. I'm pretty sure I said it wrong, but if I did, hands in the chat. Thank you very much for that subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow Royal family. Please disconnect the jetway and please bring out the pushback. That would be amazing. So APU should be running. We don't need external power. You see, that's why actually that's why it says that. We do need the beacon light to turn on. Which, does that work? Okay, cool. I do have a button for some of these things on my honeycomb here. Versa Armin, thank you for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family. Where have you guys been all my life? Thank you guys for the subs. I do appreciate that. Let's get the okay. Things are breaking. I can't click anything. I can't click anything and I can't scroll. Okay, there we go. Nope, it's still not scrolling. Weird. Okay, well, park and brake release. We're pushing back. Let's get the, we're gonna need to push back to the right. Yes, sir, Christopher, still sitting in first class on the Facebook, man. Thank you, man, for your dedication. QWERTY Pro. Yes, I am on the East server, my friend. USA East server. Steve Lee, what up, man? Thank you for the donation, man. Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that, appreciate that. And Ninja King, hello. Good to see you, man. Welcome to the stream. Damien says his is gonna die if he plays Microsoft Flight Simulator. It might. It depends where you fly at. Man, I ain't gonna try to say that, but thank you for that subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow Royal family. Let's go ahead and push to the right. Oh, there's a freaking light pole. Oh no. Why would you put a light pole there? There's a TBM right there too. This would be a good flight in a TBM as well. We'll try not to hit that pole. Putting our trust in this pushback guy. And stop. Oh, close. Very close. All right, park and brake back on. Watch that wing. Yeah, man, watch that wing. almost hit it. Be leaking barbecue sauce in these wings if we hit anything. All right, so I'm having an issue. Like I told you guys, this is kind of like my first time doing a full flight. I know I said this last stream that you should test everything before you fly them. Well, I didn't follow that rule, and I didn't test this plane 100%. I only tested it a little bit. And so I'm having an issue where I can't click anything. Let me try to click something. I can't click anything, and I can't zoom in. Thank you, Aviation and more. Appreciate that, man, for the sub as well. Wing plus pole equals barbecue sauce. Yes, sir. Mike P3D, thank you as well, my friend, for the subscription. Welcome to Blue Royal family. What the heck is going on? Seriously. Like, I can't press nothing. I can't click no buttons. Buttons can't be clicked. Yeah, I don't have any buttons down here to click. I can't hit the lights. I can't hit anything. Like, nada. Look at this. I'm button smashing now. Button smash, button smash. Street Fighter button smash is not working. What's up? ¿Qué pasó? Damien, same for PC. Still deciding what yoke to get. It's either a SciTech Pro or a Honeycomb. Bro, I'm going to tell you, I don't know Honeycomb. I've never spoke to them in person, but I recommend Honeycomb over the SciTech. Save your money, bro, and get the Honeycomb. Do it. Do it. See, Mega Davis, thanks for the subscription. I don't know what to do. Nothing's working. I can't click nothing. I can't click anything. If I can't click anything, I can't start my engine. Maybe if I like go to this screen, I click some random buttons, and let's see, hit general, go back. I'm just gonna do like a lot of really random combinations to confuse the program, and then hopefully things will start clicking themselves. No, wait, nope. Unicorn E, what up, man? It's a glitch. I have to restart. Oh heck nah, for real though. That's not cool. Is it a glitch? Like, how do I avoid the glitch? Because if I restart, is it still gonna happen? That is my question. I don't want to restart again. Jesus. Alright, we're gonna have to go quick. I don't. Let me think. Yeah. Christopher, you went to a girl's house. Oh. The other day and introduced her to Soul Plane. I think I won her heart. That's funny. That's, by the way, if you guys don't know this about me, Soul Plane is my favorite aviation film of all time. Still to this day, greater than anything I've ever seen. It's so freaking funny. I love it. All right, I'm gonna just hit buttons now while it lets me press the buttons. All right, I'm pressing all the buttons. It now works. So restarting did correct it. So if you guys run into that issue, you're gonna have to restart. So I don't know what the time limit is on that. You know, how long do I have to press buttons until I can't click buttons anymore? And does it happen in the middle of my flight? That's another question I have. I'm just gonna turn everything on. It needs to be on. I'm turning it on now because if it trips out later, I don't want to have to restart again. So turning everything on. I'm even gonna start the engines like now because I don't trust it. Let's get the APU powered up. What if it's an APU thing? What if I don't know. We'll see. Sully's good too. Don't get me wrong. Sully's good, but Sully's not funny. Drag the ATC around the screen should fit. LED pilot for the win today. Thank you, man. Well, if it happens, we'll try that technique. Greta, Thunberg Official, thank you for the subscription. Welcome to Blue Arrow Royal family. Great to see you on this beautiful of Tuesdays. Thank you very much, my friend. When are we getting a 737? Hopefully sooner than later, but most likely later. Like we are not expecting a 737 until 2021, and right now it's 2020, so we got a lot of times to wait. All right, so while we're waiting for the APU to fire up, let's try to quickly get the flight plan put in again. And it sucks. I don't like doing things twice. And if I try to load in my flight plan, it's going to load me on the runway. So there's really no way for me to do both. All right, so we are at, again, TNCM. So the good thing is, if any of you guys are just joining the chat and want to join us, you now have time to join us because we are starting over again. So, all right, route, Tango, November, Charlie, Mike and Ike. And then we're going to Punta Cana, Mike, Delta, Papa Charlie. There we go. That's a song. Is that it? That's the right. That's the right airport. Let me make sure. I'm rushing. I want to end up at the wrong airport. Yeah, that's correct. All right, cool. Performance initialization 360 is what we're cruising at today. Flight level cost index is 2121, and then thrust limit. We're not gonna worry about any of that. Takeoff. We'll do flaps 10. That is DS. That's not. That's 0. 0 is the same in most languages. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. Execute routes. Give me my departure and arrival. Departure will be the Motor 2 via runway 10. There we go. Execute that route. Our first waypoint will be shoot, where is it? Juice. Actually, no, we're not doing juice. It's gonna go straight to ANTEX. So ANTEX. It didn't type in any of that. None of that. Just none of that worked right now. Just for me. ASVR Quack. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Blue Arrow Royal family. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. You guys know I do appreciate it. You ain't gotta come out. You don't have to watch, but you do, and you're here. There's plenty of people you could be watching right now, but you're watching me, so I do appreciate that, guys. Watching me play a flight simulator. If I tell any of my friends that what I do in my spare time is I stream flight simulators, they're like, "You do what now?" Especially like older friends. My like younger friends, they understand the streaming part. They just don't understand the flight sim part. They're like, "Wait, you play flight simulators? So you sit there and fly a plane?" I'm like, yes, that is exactly what I do. What a lazy girl. Hello, ma'am. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Blue Arrow Royal family. Thank you. Welcome to the top 2%, ma'am. I have 2% of my followers are female. Ain't that a freaking shame? Where the ladies at? All you guys need to go and invite your girlfriends, your moms, your wives, whatever, you know. All right, route. All right, that's good. We're good in there. Let's go ahead and push back. And get the heck out of here. Sorry for the delay. Oh, nope. Don't want the jetway. I want the pushback truck. All right, APU should be fired up, and then the external power should automatically have turned itself off. We have an entire flight plan ready to go to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. Right? Dominican Republic? Or is it Haiti? Yes, yeah, Dominican Republic. And we're ready to go. All right, there's a route, legs page, performance initiation is ready, and buttons are still clicking. That's a positive. Beacon lights are already on, nav lights on. I have the landing lights on because there's a bug apparently that makes you not be able to click anything. So I just clicked everything ahead of time. All right, let's go ahead and kill it. Tune in Unicom. I'll tune in the Unicom once I get off of the pushback truck because that interferes with my Vatsim frequencies. And I need to make sure I am on. Straw Killer, hello. Did you ask me something? What did you ask? Yes, this is multiplayer. This is we're on the All Players server. All Players USA East server. We need to hurry up and turn right because we know there's a pole behind us. Let's go outside. All right, see if we can clear that pole this time. Second time is a charm, right? Or is it the third? One of those. But very nice airport, guys. Airworthy designs. Saint Martin. Very, very impressed by the work they've done here. I've always loved their work. I love their X-Plane 11 scenery, and when I saw they were coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator, I was like, heck yeah. And it was crazy though, is there's 2 people, I believe, working on this airport. So pretty soon, how soon, I don't know, but pretty soon we're gonna see a second release of Saint Martin by a completely different developer. Now I already have this one, so it's a very low chance that I'm actually gonna buy that, because I already got this one. Why do I need another one? This one's already freaking amazing. So they're gonna have to go and do something crazy amazing to make me switch and buy a whole nother Saint Martin, because that ain't happening, believe me. When in doubt, say you're a pilot. Yes, sir. That is true. That is very true. All right, ready. All right, I think the engines are not started. Let's go ahead and fire them up. I'm gonna cue, the music is playing super softly in the background. I know you can't hear it, but I'm gonna turn it off completely so that we can enjoy the sounds of these engines. No special sound pack involved today. All right, let's see. Fire it up. All right, okay, so fuel pumps are on. I don't know if we have any fuel in the center, but we'll go ahead and turn it on anyways. And we can start left, start right, and we'll pop these 2, pop, and we'll do both engines at the same dang time. I just realized that KLM is backwards over there. Fire it up. Rotate Aviation. Good to see you, man. Welcome back. Long time no see, man. Welcome back, bro. Dion, good to see you too, man. Really good to see you, man. Sam loves aviation. Good to see you as well, man. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. SXM boys watching from SXM next to the airport, bro. That's amazing. That is amazing. Welcome to the stream, bro. I think we're all jealous of you. Ghost Boy, welcome to the stream as well. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody else. If I did, I do apologize. Have I flown to Everest yet in Microsoft Flight Simulator? Yes, nerdy. I have. Not in the stream, but I have been there. And it looks pretty good. Pretty darn good. Alright, we're ready, guys. We are ready. Esto listo. Alright, I am using Track IR, and it is working. Parking brake is released. Let's go. We're already behind schedule. Alright, we'll follow the American out. I guess the Polish airline 787 already left. Biller 311, greetings from Curacao. Welcome to the stream, man. Welcome back, bro. Oh, right, I'm on Vatsim. Am I on Vatsim? Yes, I'm on Vatsim. All right, let me go ahead and switch my radios to the correct frequency. I forgot about that. 122.80. All right, we're on. Get a radio check. Where we at? Yeah, I see you. Yep. Yep. That's legit. I see both of you. KLM 116 heavy taxiing runway 10. Saint Martin traffic. Did that work? Let me see if that actually transmitted. No, I don't think my button is working. Let me see. Push to talk. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I've been using the A320 joystick, so it's mapped right now to that. Clear. Okay, no, I want. Nope. Yeah, there we go. Apply. Saint Martin traffic. KLM 116 taxi runway 10. Saint Martin. Jack's Life, welcome to the stream, man. Good to see you. Luke Dawson, welcome back. I'm so heavy for this airport. I mean, if they land 747s here in the past, then they can land a 7. Wait, what did I say? If they have landed 747s before here, they can land a 787. And by the way, I looked at the schedule for this airport in real life, and they're landing A330s. So right now, I believe KLM, KLM's flying an A330 from Amsterdam to here. which replaced the 747 that was flying that route before. And then the Air France also has an A330 flying from Paris direct to Saint Martin. So yeah, they can fit heavies. It's big enough to fit heavies. Xavier Myers, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. MD10 VR, good to see you. Greetings from Grenada, good to see you as well. All right, TBM. Caution, wake turbulence, my friend. How did it go this weekend with my wife? It went great, actually. She had a migraine all weekend, sadly, so like we couldn't do much. But we still did go out and eat. We went and got hibachi. It's been a long time since either of us have gone and gotten hibachi. If you don't know what hibachi is, it's whenever you go to a restaurant and they have like this massive grill in front of you.
Juliana traffic, American 1369, taking off runway 10. Juliana traffic.
Nice. It's a big old grill in front of you, and they cook like all this good stuff. I think I might have posted some videos on Instagram. I can't remember, but yeah, it was cool. So the reason why you see 2 American Airlines planes is because one of them is the Vatsim representation of it, and the other one is the Microsoft Flight Simulator representation of it. That's why you see 2 planes. So it's kind of like a bit of a catch, you know, like if you're gonna fly on Vatsim online and you're flying Microsoft Flight Simulator with somebody. If you have all players turned on, you'll still see them. If you turn off, if you do like group only, then you only see Vatsim traffic. So, all right, so flaps for takeoff. That's good to go. Landing lights and everything are coming on. I think those are already on, but we're good to go. Juliana traffic, KLM 116 heavy is lining up runway 10. Juliana traffic. Matthias, welcome to the stream, man. Welcome to the stream. All right, we're using all this runway today. Let's see how well this thing actually uses the nose wheel. Simply YT, hello, welcome to the stream, my friend. Good to see you. Turn, but it turn. I am looking forward to our return leg. Like that's what I'm most excited about, to be honest with you. Turn, bruh, turn. You can do it. We were doing really well. I think it's because we're going too slow. GYN Spotter, hello, good to see you, man. Dingo, hello from Ohio in the building. What's happening, bro? As well as Zach Brown, Aiden Summers, good to see you guys. Shavanka Kana, Winter U, hello on Twitch. Come on, turn. You know me personally? How do you know me personally? Or are you talking to somebody else? What is your real name? Hoffy, greetings from Athens, Greece. All right, guys, I'm taking my eyes off the chat so we can take off. Watch out for that mountain over there. Come on, turn, turn. There we go, baby. We got it. All right, so real quick, landing lights are on and checked. Flaps are good for takeoff. Let's set our auto brakes to RTO. That's going to be down here in the middle. And there we go. We'll go up to 10,000 for initial. That sounds good to me. We'll go ahead and arm the LNAV. And so we can zoom this range out so we can actually see where we're going. We're making a right turn on departure. We're going to avoid that mountain at all costs. Thank you very much, Rolando, for the subscription. Welcome to Blue Roy family. Great to see you. Great to see you. Come on, baby. Turn, turn, turn. There we go. All right, we're ready to go. Powerful. Juliana traffic, KLM 116 heavy is taking off runway 10, Juliana. Oh yeah, airspeed's loud, baby. There's 70. Here comes 80 knots. Keep her on the center line. Getting speed nicely. There's 120 knots. Here comes V1, V2, and let it fly. Oh baby, we are in the air. Airspeed is, I'm sorry, altitude. Alright, there is it. Here. Oh, wrong button. Making a right turn immediately. Even in the 787, we probably could have made it if we went straight. We could have made it, but it's best to go ahead and make that right turn to avoid any issues with that mountain up ahead of us. Very nice. Very nice. Alright. Princess Juliana, we will be back shortly. Next stop, Punta Cana. And then we'll be coming right back here for the return leg in the second flight. And you do not want to miss that landing. That is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Thank you very much, Marcanello, for the subscription. Welcome to Blu-ray family. You see our flight director down here and our little magenta line. I don't know that the flight director is actually guiding us. I don't think it is. I think it's just showing like an X marks the spot kind of thing. You know what I mean? Thank you, Luke Dawson. About time you subscribe. No, for real. Thank you very much for that sub. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family. Good to see you. We're gonna fly by hand for a little bit. Mostly just water out here. We are using Rex weather engine as well, and Rex apparently says it is clear. So I guess we'll go with that. Yeah, we banked on them pretty heavy right there. We will go to Africa pretty soon. Trust me. Awesome gaming, thank you for the subscription, my friend. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family, guys. All right, we're climbing. We're doing nicely. Again, we're gonna be cruising at 36,000 feet. So I'm gonna go ahead and change that up while we are in our climb. Thank you, Lurko, for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family. Great to see you, and welcome aboard. Let's go flaps up. I got my altitude now set to 36,000. We are now passing 5,000. And it doesn't like how slow we're going, so we're gonna put the nose down a little bit. We're at 19 knots. Thank you, Shavanka, I appreciate it. Jefferson, thank you as well. Alright, come up to Modar, which is a part of our departure. And quick update on our departure. I kind of show you guys what that looks like as we're flying it. Just briefly. Using SimToolkit Pro and Navigraph. Here we are, flying out to Modar. We need to be at or above 4,000. We're well above that. We're passing 8,000 now. So we ain't got nothing to worry about there. And then after that, we're making a right turn to Dandy. Originally, we really want to go to Juice. That's really where we want to go. But you know what? We're going to skip Juice. We're going to probably go see if we can go direct. Because Dandy's quite out of the way for where we're trying to go today. Thank you, Tom B, for the subscription. Welcome to Blue Arrow family. All right, passing 10,000 feet. I am going to actually set the heading to the direction that I would like to go. And man, you guys are showing up today. Thank you very much. Who is that? Zero Pros. Thank you for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow Royal family. Welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. All right, turn the autopilot on. There's the autopilot and heading mode. Where's heading mode? Thank you, Jorge. Thank you for the subscription. Welcome to Blue Arrow family. Great to see you, man. Great to see you. All right, right now it's on LNAV. I want to be on heading though, because LNAV is going to take us not exactly where I want to go. You can see it's going to take us south. I want to go west. I don't want to go south. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and hit heading right here. There it is, heading select. It should. There it is. Bank us to the right side now. Right now, it's locking us at 200 knots. I'm gonna go up to. I'm not gonna do VNAV. I'm just gonna do it myself, because I don't think that the VNAV is gonna be working in this case. All right, here's 16,000, and I'm gonna change the speed to like 280 for now. See, now the aircraft should be pitching down to get that. I'm gonna use flight change mode for our climb instead of vertical speed. Again, I'm kind of testing these. Sometimes they don't work in this plane because of the bugs, but we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see. And thank you, Chuck Norris. Okay, you know, it's not a party till Chuck Norris shows up. Thank you, man. Thank you very much for the subscription. Welcome to Blue Arrow family. Great to see you. Great to see you. All right, yeah, there we go. There's Dandy. Dandy's actually not that far out. I thought Dandy would be farther than I thought. But it's still kind of out of the way. We could really cut some time back if we skip Dandy. But I think I'm going to go ahead and just let it do its thing. I'm not going to worry about it. We could be fiddling with all this stuff all day long, but I don't even trust that I can even go direct in this FMC. I think last time we flew out in, was it Germany? We had a lot of problems with Vatsim, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get it to do direct or anything. It just didn't work. I should say goodbye to the island. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Over there. But yeah, so Grand Case, which we'll probably check out maybe when we get back. Grand Case is also included in this scenery package. There's 2 airports. You get 2 for 1 for a really good price, I have to say. Grand Case is a really good airport for smaller planes, like, you know, maybe as big as like a Dash 8, maybe, but Dash 8 would probably be a little bit big as well. I think that over there it might be Saba. Saba's not far. I think that is Saba over there. Saba's not far from St. Martin. I always just kind of get confused of which one is which. Harshad Mai, thank you for the, or hello, good to see you. Welcome to the stream, my friend. Rocking the KLM Royal Dutch Airlines 100 livery. You can see that the KLM in the back is backwards. I'm not sure why that is. That's kind of weird. Everything else is correctly mirrored, but not that. Yes, Future Realm, the scenery is indeed payware. It's, I believe, $15 USD. Which is, honestly, for what you get 2 airports, and, I mean, the quality. If you saw the very beginning of the stream, we literally started our stream in a hotel, on the balcony of a hotel on the island. It looked so legit. And then walked all the way, you know, down the beach, all the way, took a taxi, checked in. I mean, we walked all the way to the freaking plane, and it just looked incredible. It was really good. So yeah, it's definitely worth the 15 bucks. I mean, honestly, they could have charged like $30-$35 like Orbix does, but this quality is like 2, maybe 3 times better than what you've seen from Orbix so far. Now Gaia though, Gaia does some really good stuff. So I would still say even higher than the quality of what Gaia's putting out right now. And Gaia puts out some really good stuff. I wouldn't say 3 times better than Gaia, maybe like a time and a half. As far as comparison to other maybe sceneries that you're familiar with, because Gaia, you're getting the free Gaia because of the handcrafted airports are made by them, so you understand the quality that you're getting there for sure. Vinarma, good to see you. Welcome to the stream. All right, guys, we are en route. Let's take a let me take a look at how we're doing on our how long do we have until we get there. It is tracking, it looks like. Yep, it is. And we'll pull up Sim Toolkit Pro again. Still my favorite since I've downloaded that thing. And I know I've been promoting it. Again, I don't know those guys. But it's been such a huge help. You get the calculator for the landing rates, which is nice. It does a landing rates contest on Twitter. It's not Twitter, on Twitch. I don't know why it doesn't work on YouTube yet, but it does work on Twitch. Where the heck are we? Here we are. You can see here, this is a live map within Sim Toolkit Pro. And yeah, the weather is pretty nice out here, so it's pretty legit that it's clear. This is the flight plan that we should be flying. And this is why I was saying, like, I don't really feel that we should have been going that way. But what's going to happen is, instead of going the way we were planning on going, like going from here to Juice, I think what the flight plan is going to have us do is have us go straight to ANTEX, which I believe is what we planned. So it's a bit different. It didn't go into the flight plan correctly, or into the FMC correctly like it should have, but it works. I'm just kind of glad we don't have any actual Vatsim ATC, because I can kind of just do my own thing and not worry about the issues with the autopilot or any of that stuff like that. But pretty excited about flying over Puerto Rico. You guys know that I visited there. Well, some of you guys know that my wife is from Puerto Rico, and we visited there multiple times, probably three, 4 times, something like that. And the last time we went, we actually got to see the whole island. So we'll be pretty high. We'll be 36,000 feet above Puerto Rico, but we might see a little bit of it on the way over to Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic. One place I haven't been yet. The weather is not looking bad. It looks pretty good. There's some scattered showers out there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, running Rex weather engine today, so we should, in theory, have some pretty good accurate weather at our destination because of Rex. So thanks to Rex for that. We should be making a right turn here. Oh, heading select is still on. Let's hit LNAV, please. There we go. Wesley Floyd. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator that we're in right now. Z Gobble YT. Hello, good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Streampunk, what up, man? Can you fly back to Juliana during the nighttime to see the new night lighting? What we can do is we can do a dusk. We can do like right before it gets nighttime. Maybe not completely nighttime. Yeah, we can do dusk. Let's do that. That sounds like a good idea. ZZ Gobble, what up, man? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. So again, it's not gonna be a very long flight. It's like right now we're 30 minutes out. So we're 30 minutes out from Punta Cana, so pretty short flight. Very short for a 787. Basically a ferry flight is basically what's happening here. But it should be pretty good. Oliver, hello there, have a safe flight. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you, man. I appreciate those words, bro. Appreciate that. Malfoofy, have I seen the Infinite Flight 20.3 teaser? Yes, I have. Trust me, bro. I see everything Infinite Flight posts. I see everything. I probably see it before you see it. No, but I saw it. I saw it. They're just teasing about what's gonna be next. Did they say what the next plane is gonna be? Cause I didn't see that. I only saw they were teasing about having a new rework coming. So I don't know what they're working on. I honestly haven't even tried the new update yet. Alright, we should be in Mach right now. So let's do Mach point. Wow, 9? Okay, yeah, that's freaking rocket ship over there. I'm down. Not 9.5. Let's get it. Sophia, would you deposit? What is that? What are you trying to say, Sophia? My one of my friend's wife's name is Sophia. Appreciate that, Aviation more. Yeah, man. I have some ideas for some new merch for the winter time. I just haven't had time to put them together, sadly. I started working on it a little bit last week, but I didn't complete it. So thank you, man. Appreciate those words, man. But yeah, if you guys didn't know, I do have merch. Oh, that's cool, Phalastic. He says that the weather is accurate on the weather is accurate. You looked on the app and it shows the exact same clouds. That's amazing. Well, hopefully it is actually raining when we get there. Wesley Floyd, you also have Microsoft Flight Simulator. Well, you should join us. Where you at, man? Why you slacking? What's the holdup? What's holding you back? You in school? All right, we're cruising like that easy. The 787 is a monster, man. We're already at 36,000 feet. We're right below it. I'm not sure why we're not right at it. We're like 500 feet below 36,000, but you know, whatever. I'm not gonna be picky today. And we're right below. Wait, what's going on with my weather? Alright, I'm gonna reset Rex because it's being weird. We're gonna reset the weather. Let's see what live weather looks like in Sim. Okay, now we're speeding. I knew Mach 0.95 sounded a bit fast. So let's compare, actually. So right now, this is regular Microsoft Flight Simulator live weather. And it says that the wind is 323, 29 knots. So we have a nice tailwind. It's not a strong tailwind, but we do have a tailwind. And we're going ground speed at 510 knots, going direct to ANTEX into Punta Cana. I'm about to fly over Puerto Rico here in just a little bit. If I change it back to Rex, which I have to go to Clear Skies, and then I have to go into my Rex weather app, which I have here in a second, and then I just basically I hit start inject, and it's gonna inject weather based on the current, our current location. So we'll see. Right now it's still loaded in. Let's kind of zoom out, kind of see the difference here. It is gonna rock us back and forth because that wind is gonna hit us pretty hard. Is that Puerto Rico? There's no way that's Puerto Rico. That's so tiny. Wow, look at that. So yeah, there it is. So I think what happened was our Rex hadn't updated yet. So now it's updated and it's using TISX as one of the closest airports to get its data from. Altimeter 29904, we should be on standard right now. So let's do standard. There we go. When are we gonna land? We're gonna be landing in just about 26 minutes. Aviation 360, good to see you, man. Welcome back. What edition of Microsoft Flight Simulator do I have? I have the Premium Deluxe Edition. That sounds real like special, don't it? Premium Deluxe Edition. Also sounds very expensive, which it was. Is there a weather radar in here? There is. There it is. Let's go outside. Oh yeah, that's my kind of weather right there. I got some clouds. I can dig that. Yes, USA East, and I'm on the USA East server and have the Premium Deluxe Edition. Yes, I also like the 777. Are there any night lighting mods? Not that I know of. I know that the latest update updated some of the night lighting. I'm not really sure what that means. I haven't done a lot of night flying yet, well, since the update, so I can't say. But I do know there's some mods for the aircraft lighting. Like the G1000 had like a special mod so that you can actually turn the light down. Because in the beginning, I think they fixed it, but in the beginning you couldn't actually change like the brightness of the G1000, and it was kind of annoying when you're flying at night. It's like super bright. Okay, so this is not Puerto Rico, FYI. We're flying over Christiansted, Frederiksted. I never heard of that island before. It's a tiny little island just in between Puerto Rico and St. Martin. Yeah, this livery is dope, man. It's a pretty cool island though. It's pretty small. It has one airport on it. What is my number? 116. There you go. Yes, I am on PC. Yes, sir. $360, by the way, and me and you talked over the weekend about a lot of different stuff, but we talked about DCS World, and that day after you got off, I did go and relearn how to fly the A10, and it took me a while. Matter of fact, I'm not done learning. It's gonna take me a lot of practice to really get it down. I got killed a lot of times by air missiles, but yeah, it's cool. Again, it's a different style of gameplay. The A10 is a lot slower. Like if you're not into slower combat, then the A10 may not be for you. Like if you just want to do dogfighting and fly jets at freaking Mach 0.2, then get in the F-18, get in the F-16. But the A10 is a bit slower, but that thing is a beast and it gets the job done. So I was learning how to use the helmet display, which I figured out. I also learned how to use the laser-guided Maverick air-to-ground missile and the air-to-ground rockets, the laser-guided air-to-ground rockets, and as well as the bombs too. So I learned them a lot. It's still, I still need practice. I'm also trying to relearn how to use the regular Mavericks and a few other things too. It's just that plane is so complicated, and I knew that as soon as I was like, yeah, I'm gonna learn how to fly this again. I was like, but the systems are so detailed in the DCS A10 2C tank killer. It's crazy. So many buttons to remember on my whole task controls, and it's a lot, man. It's definitely not a beginner plane. Like if any of you guys are thinking about getting into DCS World, I wouldn't recommend A10 being your first plane. Like fly something a bit more simple, get used to that, and then A10 is more of an experienced pilot. It's easy to fly, don't get me wrong. The flying is the easiest part. But learning how to control the freaking systems and how to get all the weapons to work correctly, that's the hardest part of learning how to fly the A10. F-18, yeah. F-18 should be your first. I think F-18 or the F-16 are both the perfect first plane to buy for DCS World. They both, the F-18 is the most complete, but the F-16 is so much fun to fly too. IFNG says you're only learning to fly the A320neo now. Hey, start somewhere. Again, the same with Microsoft Flight Sim. I think the 320neo is the perfect plane to learn to get your feet wet with learning to fly airliners. Seriously, the A320 is pretty simple when you think about it and compare it to a lot of different planes. The most complicated thing, honestly, in most of these planes in the sim is just their computers, their FMCs, their MCDUs. Now, not that much in Microsoft Flight Simulator because they're still being worked on. But yeah, I would definitely recommend if you're just getting in the flight sim and you want to like learn how to fly like realistically, like hop in the 320neo, get the Neo mod, and yeah, there you go. Nice. Turn the lane lights off because I forgot to turn those off. Oh, okay. All right, I have a button for that. There we go. I was like, why isn't it letting me click it? All right, cool. All right, so yeah, so we're chilling, man. We're cruising. We're on Unicom 122.8 on Vatsim, 36,000 feet. We are, let's see, 20 minutes out and about to fly over the east side of Puerto Rico in just a second. Lorenzo Camacho, welcome to the stream, man. Good to see you, buddy. Welcome back. Strobe lights and beacon lights aren't visible, are they not? Omar, thank you for the subscription, man. Welcome to the Blue Arrow Arroyo family. I appreciate that. And I need to take this song off of this playlist. Yeah. It just sounds too... You know what? We're on the wrong playlist. It sounds too NCS, non-copyright sounds. I'm trying to avoid songs that sound like theirs. Not that I can't play them. I just don't want to play them. That's all. How many platforms am I streaming on? Just 3. I'm on Microsoft. Microsoft. I'm on YouTube right now. I'm on Twitch right now, and we're on Facebook as well. Bonjour, John Doe. Good to see you, man. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Gilberto Beretta. Thank you, man. Welcome to the stream, buddy. Yeah, my beacon light works. And my strobes also seem to be working, so I'm not sure what's going on with yours. Jason Turley, welcome to the stream, my friend. Corsair 108, good to see you too, man. Such a beautiful, nice, short, chill flight we got going on here. Nothing but water. Thankfully, we have clouds to make it a little bit interesting. Jason, thank you for that subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family, bro. So what's going on with you guys, man? What's you guys working? You guys at school today? Where you watching from? Where you guys hanging out from, man? This will be a nice long haul too. You know, I do want to say, because I've been avoiding flying a 787 for some time now. Since I think the last time we flew the 787 was at the first Japan update. And I was having some very bad issues with it. Now, it seems to be flying pretty smoothly, except for the fact that my flight plan did not go in the correct way. That's my only problem I've had so far. So I really still wouldn't want to fly this in a very heavily trafficked area like on Vatsim. But for fun, like whenever I'm flying in a place that there is no ATC, I think this would be a great plane to fly. Alright, what island is we flying over now? That island to our right is, I think that's Vieques. Yeah, that's Vieques. That is a tiny little island just off the east of Puerto Rico. I have not been there yet, but me and my wife keep saying that next time we go, we're gonna catch a ferry from Puerto Rico, or either a ferry or plane. I told her I would prefer to take a plane. They have tiny little twin-engine planes that will fly you from an airport right over here. You can't see it because it's under the clouds, and it'll fly you over the short little hop to this island. And then from there you can just, you know, catch a cab or rent a car, whichever you want to do. But they have what do they call it? At night, the beaches glow like these little blue sparkly glowing dots. It's really freaking cool. I actually found out that in Puerto Rico as well. Where were we? It was on the west side. That's where we were. On the west side of Puerto Rico, there's a small little area. What do they call? Luminescent? The luminescent beach? I can't remember how they say it. I can't remember what it's called. Keith from Pittsburgh, Gilberto, Italy. What up, guys? But anyways, it's pretty cool, and it's honestly it's a bit harder to see than how they show it in all the pictures on the internet. You have to be completely dark, and the water has to be moving in order to see the water sparkling this bright blue, like pixie dust looking stuff. It's pretty freaking cool. So we saw that last time we went to Puerto Rico. That was pretty cool. But yeah, over Puerto Rico now, over the south side. You see San Juan is over there. And then you got Luquillo Beach, Fajardo, what's it called? Mount Junque. I always pronounce it wrong, so I don't. My my accent is not all the way there, but yeah, we might be going back soon again. Her sister had a kid recently, and I know she's really wanting to go back. So I don't know if she's gonna go back by herself or if I'm gonna go with her next time. I'm not sure yet. NDDF, your dad is from Puerto Rico. Cool, man. How does the GTX 1080 Ti fly? It flies like this. If you like what you see, then you'll like the 1080 Ti. I wouldn't recommend buying one now because it's obviously outdated. It's like, what, 3 generations back now? But it's still pretty good. I mean, I wish I was getting a bit better performance in certain situations. Right now, this is not a very heavily, this is not a very heavy, like, performance flight. Like, we're over mostly water. We're over the island of Puerto Rico. The clouds are there. They're not super crazy. So performance-wise, I'm doing really well right now. Very smooth, very high frames. But last week, we flew into, where were we flying? Boston in a snowstorm. And I was getting like 10 frames per second. So it depends, you know, where you're flying. You call them playas fosforescentes. What does that mean? Can I please show map overview of Vatsim? Yeah, no problem, JT. Give me just a second, man. Yes, Joel. Hey, exactly, man. Finally, some scenery for TNCM. You know, it's crazy because people were telling me in the past that there was scenery already for Princess Juliana for Microsoft Flight Simulator. It was part of the game. I was like, no. I don't know if you guys realize this, but no, it is not. It looked horrible. It looks default. It looks bland. It just not do it justice. And you can go out there and see it if you don't have the scenery. It does not look that great. I mean, other than the approach still being pretty fun to do, the actual buildings and stuff like that are very disappointing in the area. But the scenery makes it look so nice, so nice. So again, right now we're flying to Punta Cana. But we're gonna be doing a return leg back to Princess Juliana International, and so definitely either stick around or come back for that on our second leg. But it's gonna be a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to that. There's Ponce, I believe. I think that's Ponce right there down below us. And somebody was asking to see the Vatsim Overview Map, so just give me a second to pull that up. I do have that up on my screen right now. We're gonna need to descend here in a little while. There it is. Alright, so this is our overview of our flight and Vatsim. So we took off out of St. Martin. See there, this is our track. The red line's what we done. The blue line's what we were supposed to do. But as you can see, it didn't have that airway. So all of this from Juice all the way down is actually the, I think, the Bravo 520 airway. And it wasn't allowing us to put that in. So right now we're going direct to ANTEX and flying over Ponce, Puerto Rico. Thank you, Hasmel Hernandez. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family, my friend. Appreciate that. Yeah, so, and then we're going over to Punta Cana. Very simple. I thought about going to Santo Domingo, but I want to have a short flight. So, yeah. See, there's still some little bit of weather out there. I don't know if we're going to have any when we get to Punta Cana. It's kind of to the north and to the south. So we should be good. Right now we're ETE 12 minutes out. So pretty darn close. We need to send like now. So let's do that. Let's go down to, let's start with 10,000 to get the descent rolling. And as you can see, as I'm turning the altitude down, the plane is already descending for the altitude. Now I want you guys to know that is not how it's supposed to go. It's not supposed to, it's supposed to wait for you to tell it, hey, I want to descend, unless you're using VNAV, but we're not using VNAV, so it's just descending on its own. I need to kind of take control of it though. I'm gonna get vertical speed, and I want to descend a little bit faster because we're only 20, what did I say, 15 minutes out, something like that. So, and we're at 36,000 feet, so we have a lot to go. So we're actually gonna go like 3,000 or something ridiculous. Oh, to get us down as soon as possible. RP Gamer, welcome to the stream, man. Welcome back, man. Wesley Flip, what was your question? I don't know what your question was. Anox Plays, welcome to the stream, man. Also, no demanding caps. I almost don't want to answer your question on purpose because you're demanding me to answer your question, and I don't be demanded. It is a privilege for me to answer your question. I do not have Minecraft. JD Holmes, welcome to the stream, man. Just join, welcome to the stream, bro. Yes, we were in the 787. I like aviation. Good to see you, man. Renato, hello from Poland. Good to see you, man. Welcome to the stream. I never wanna go home, living in Stockholm. Xander, thank you for the subscription. Welcome to Blu-ray family, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. I don't even see your question, Wesley. So I will give you the permission to ask it one more time now that I'm actually looking at chat and not flying a plane, because that is what we're doing here. Straw Killer found me on Twitch. What up, man? Good to see ya. Simdad, hello, welcome to the stream. Great to see you. Great to see you, man. Hopefully you're doing well. How's my day going so far? It's going pretty good. Can't complain, man. It's still early. Well, it's about halfway over. Actually, not early, but it's about halfway over. So it's going all right. It's not too bad. Still got much to do today. So once we finish streaming, you guys know the drill. Got to go back to work again. But it's been going pretty well, man. NDDF, hello from Texas. What up, man? I'm from Texas, too. Awesome gaming. Yes, it is very realistic, bro. Yes, we're descending now, guys, into Punta Cana. Let me get my charts ready for that airport so that I am not surprised by any of anything. What GPU do I have? That's your question. All right, and please again, no caps. I have the GTX 1080 Ti. That's what I have. Let's get slowed down. We're over speeding. Simdat has become a gold member. Yes, sir. Those hydraulics for you, man. Thank you very much for that. Becoming a member. If you are a gold member, you have access to the Blue Games Gold community chat or community tab on my YouTube channel, and from there you have a playlist of tons of extra, like, deleted scenes, extra flights, extra landing videos, all the extra stuff that I don't stream, I post there. So that is your gift. Trying to add more and more every day or every week, as fast as I can. So thank you again, man. I do appreciate that. All right, let's get the speed break out because we are over speeding. Colorado 72, good evening from Europe land. What up, man? Good to see you. Can I go to Haiti, please? We're gonna be pretty close. We won't exactly be in Haiti, but we'll be pretty close. We won't be going to Haiti today, though. Sorry. We will go eventually. Matter of fact, my friend, a good friend, Captain Geo. I don't think he's in chat with us. He might be. He might be listening. I don't know. A good friend of mine, Captain Geo. He is. His roots are from Haiti. I believe it's Haiti. Isn't it Haiti? Yeah, Haiti. So I am wanting to get with him and do a flight, or him and a couple of his Haitian friends, and do a flight to the motherland of theirs. I don't want to go out there by myself. I don't know nothing about Haiti. Alright, so you see we're descending over the western side of Puerto Rico, which is actually, you know, the east side of Puerto Rico is the most popular side. It's where everybody goes, like San Juan, stuff like that. But I'm telling you, if you go to Puerto Rico, rent a car and drive I think it's an hour-long drive. Drive over to this side of Puerto Rico. You will not regret it. There's some great places to visit. The beaches are so nice. If you're a surfer, this is the side of the beach. This is the side of the island you want to be on to get your surfing waves. Check out Surfers Beach. Tons of waves out there. And I love it. I love going out there. It's Mayoguez, Rincon. What else is down here? Cabo Rojo. I can't roll my arms very well. But yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Definitely recommend it. Aguadilla. Those are all places that I actually visited last time I went. We went beach hopping. That's what we did last time we went to Puerto Rico. You're getting ice? Seems legit. How much did my setup cost? Oh, here comes the weather changing on us. Is it gonna be overcast? Oh no. I don't know. I don't have a number on my setup cost, but again, I do in the description have everything that I'm using in my setup. And if you would like to go on Amazon and add it up for me, go ahead. But I don't even want to know. honestly. I don't. I just really don't even want to know. That's why I'm not gonna take the time to calculate it. Alright, why did we stop descending? We're nowhere near. We're nowhere near how low we need to be. Thank you, Central Florida First Amendment Accountability. What a name. Thank you for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family. Great to see you. Great to see you. Martin Sorensen, good to see you. I just saw your name pop up. What up, man? Good to see you. Straw, yeah, I saw somebody fly over me. I'm not sure who it was. I guess it was you. Yeah, Caribbean beaches are always nice. Yeah, so we gotta find out why. Oh, I know why. I know why. It's because my plane is going so slow. Alright, so that's okay. I knew that bug existed. I just want to confirm that it did actually exist. So once you get into Mach, you can't come back out of Mach. Let's get it down to 280 knots. Alright, we're 32 miles away from ANTEX now, which is our transition. Have I ever flown to Finland? Because you are from there. I think so. I think not long ago we flew in Finland or Scotland or one of those places. Count 'em up, count 'em up, count 'em up. Simdad, about to land in Vancouver yourself. You need to be on your side of the world. Yeah, bro. Yeah, man, for sure, Simdad. Do you have the? I guess I'm assuming you probably have the Payware Vancouver out there. I don't have it. I don't own it, but I've heard and seen great things about that scenery out there. So it's been on my radar. Been thinking about picking it up myself, but just haven't. Doodle Bob, what up, man? Good to see you. Your dad is from Mayo, I guess. Cool. That's really cool. Such a small world, man. Landing on runway 26. Duke 46, we are descending to land now. Just trying to decode what the plane is thinking right now. I'm trying to read the plane's mind. You've been to Princess Juliana in real life in 2017. Pretty awesome. So have fun landing. Thank you, man. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's kind of on my bucket list of places to go. If it doesn't work, we're gonna have to fly it on our own, which I'm not against. I'm not against at all. Last Gam, yes, I saw that A320. A-Tip, what's up? Welcome to the stream, man. Trivies, hello. Yeah, insane. You know, PCs can get pretty expensive, especially when you want to play games like Microsoft Flight Simulator or X-Plane. Do I play Rocket League? No, not right now. A real life friend of mine has been trying to get me to play Rocket League with him, but I'm like, I got too many games to play right now, and Rocket League is another competitive game that I know I'm gonna get. I know I'm gonna get addicted to. Gunther, thank you for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow Royal family. Let's get it, Chief Senpai. Have I ever played Flywings? Yes, actually, Flywings was the first mobile flight sim I've ever played. I had it on a Windows device. All right, we're gonna kill the autopilot because we don't trust Microsoft Flight Sim's autopilot. We're gonna do it on our own, and it's not descending. I don't know. This is not. Auto throttle can come off too, which I think is this button. Nope, that's not the button. I'm thinking of how my thrust master thing works. All right, so there we go. RLP, hello, good to see you, man. Elbow cough, oh, that's hilarious. Thank you very much, Leodu? Leodu? I think that's how you say it. All right, guys, you ready to dive in? Maxi Monkey, welcome back, good to see you. We do have quite the cloud cover down below us. I'm gonna check on my map here, make sure we're good. So which direction is runway 26? Now is the time that I have to really multitask. I'm just gonna use the trim wheel down here to help us descend down. Current altimeter is 299 or 1. Actually, no, it's not. Can somebody in chat get me the altimeter for? Never mind, I have it. QH1012 is the weather. Pull that power all the way back there, and we'll get that speed brake back out again. Alright, let's see. Oh yeah, QH1012. See if I can put that in. It'll come out of standard. Switch that over. Again, I have control now. I have the plane, so we're no longer depending on autopilot. Matter of fact, this brings back a memory. Last time we flew the 787, we ended up flying an ILS approach at night with our hands because the ILS wasn't working. So I guess whatever was broken is still not fixed. Alright, let me get my charts up here so I know what we're doing. Coming in hot, yes sir. Grant Stites, hello. Seems like I look away as soon as you chat. I'm sorry, man. Bad timing. I'm kind of monitoring it. I can't catch every single thing you guys say sometimes. I'm trying my best. All right, so at ANTEX, we need to do a heading of... Looks like... I don't know, 086? That can't be right. That can't be right at all. There is auto land, but this airport apparently doesn't have an ILS. There's only the RNAV. Alright, we're diving in. Oh yeah, we're in this thing now. We in this thing now, guys. Alright, let's go ahead and kill the music. It's time to get serious. It's about to get serious. We're flying IFR by hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Pinnaconda traffic, American 1369, 10 mile final, runway 27. Pinnaconda traffic.
Alright, he's coming in, runway 27. I don't even know where the heck we are. We are... so that's 20, 10, we're 15 miles out from Punta Cana right now. Do I have a yoke? Great question. Alright, we're slowed down. Let's get the speed brakes back. Out, away. Alright, this is gonna be sketchy because there may be mountains. Let's turn terrain radar on. See if it picks up anything for us. And we'll set our auto brake to 2. We don't want to go any above that because apparently there's a bug that like locks your brakes up. So that's good to know. We'll be coming in from the east side. Oh, look at that. Okay, okay. That moment you break through the clouds. Yes, he said it at the perfect time. Look at this. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. Okay, we can do visual now. We're good. My confidence just got boosted. There's the airport right there. Alright, we're going to enter into your right downwind for the airport. That is so freaking legit. Alright, oh, wait. Oh, okay, we'll be straight in. Oh, shoot, that changes things. I thought we were landing the other way. We're actually landing straight in. So we're high. Let's do this. Let's make a right turn. And then we'll come back. And we'll land. We were expecting 2.6. We'll still take 2.6. That's fine. Watch the bank angle there. Land lights coming back on. Get them. Put the speed brakes out. Again. Speed's kind of getting away from us today. Look at these clouds, man. These clouds look incredible. Punta Cana traffic, Halo 116 heavy on left downwind runway 26, Punta Cana traffic. Alright, so FYI, at least in the XE version, this I don't think is working. Yeah, it's not working. So we're not going to be using the HUD. Alright, dropping some flaps down. And we'll get rid of speed brakes. Our speed looks okay. We are on a pretty short final. Gear's coming down. Actually, that's not the gear, that's the park brake.
Punta Cana traffic, American 1369, clear of runway 27.
Punta Cana traffic. KLM 116 Heavy is on final runway 26 Punta Cana. I'm just adding some flaps in right now. Maybe a little high, but I think we are okay. Alright, so auto brakes are set. Speed brakes should be armed. I think they're on. I'm not sure. Land lights are on. We're landing, guys. Alright, oh wow, we're super slow. Jesus. We were pushing like 160 knots just now. There we go. Alright, now I can move pitch. We were very slow. I did not know we were that slow. I see two white, two red right now. Still need some power though. We're still slow, very slow. This is my first time visiting the Dominican Republic so far in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Little high, little high. Still trying to adjust our speed.
400. 300. 200.
You have a tailwind. Oh, no we don't.
100.
Alright, easy, easy.
50. 40.
There's a float. Ooh, big floats today, guys. Big floats today, guys. We got a parade floats going on right now. Easy though. Don't want to bounce it too hard.
20. 10.
Yeah, no bueno. No bueno. Oh no. That was a rough one. That float that float set us up for failure right there. Our reversers are now green. It was a decent approach, not a great landing. I don't know. I gotta kind of look back at that and find out where I really failed there.
All aboard!
Maybe we had too much power in. We were slow as heck though. That's the crazy thing. Wesley, thank you for the follow, man. Welcome to the Blu-ray family. We were really slow. Like we came in on approach at like 100, but sub 140, which is crazy slow for a 787. So it's just kind of weird that we floated that much. This plane did not want to go down. All right, so we're gonna taxi back to the gate and immediately get ready for our second flight back to Princess Juliana. Let's get these reversers. I think, are those still on? Okay, I think they're off. Flaps up. Yeah, definitely rough. I'm not sure what our rate was. Let's see what my rate was. Easy, easy, easy. Our rate was, oof. I'm embarrassed to say what it is, but it was a 491 was our landing rate there. Not good. It's crazy because I did a flight earlier and I had like a sub 100 landing in the same plane. So funny, funny, funny. Yes, definitely ouch. It was definitely a smash for us today, guys. Smash landing for today. Luca Post Switch, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Blu-ray family. The good news is we have another chance at it. We're gonna do it one more time. So gonna taxi to the gate and get some. We don't need any fuel. But we will need to do the flight plan again, and then head out. Decent approach. A lot of trees out here at Punta Cana Airport. Not sure if that's realistic or not. I don't even know where the. Okay, we're going the right way. Yeah, all the terminal stuff is over here. So we need to cross this runway and go straight ahead over there. Kurt Bowen, hello. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream, my friend. Good to see you. Yes, Kelvin. Yes, I agree. It was definitely a bad landing. Natal Gabriel. Good to see you, my friend. Bon dia. I know, Beleza. It was a bad landing. No crosswind, nothing, man. It was just not good. Just not good. That's all right. We just landed just hard enough to knock all the rust off. We should be good to go for the rest of the day. All right, beacon light, it's gonna stay on. Land light's gonna come off, and the strobe light's gonna come off. Taxi light's gonna stay on for taxi. Flaps should be all the way up. Runway turnoff lights are on. And we'll just park at the gate, and I'm basically just gonna immediately put the flight plan in and just go. We can't watch the replay, sadly, so there's really nothing else for us to watch or wait for. This airport is nothing special. This is just default Microsoft Flight Simulator apartment buildings. So, or the airport looks like apartment buildings. So nothing special here either. The weather is not too bad. It's not raining, but it is a bit, overcast in the area. All right, we'll take that second. Oh, no, we'll take the second one. I'm getting a 2-star rate on Uber. Oh, don't do that. That'll end me. That will end me. I still wonder, how does that work exactly? Any Uber drivers in the chat? How does the star actually affect you? Do you get paid less depending on how many stars you get? Do you get a higher or lower chance of the jobs you pick up that depending on stars or average stars? How does that work? Like what is the actual benefit besides the Uber corporation knowing that you suck as a driver? What's the benefit of that? I just always kind of wondered that. All right, cool. Parking brake is set, guys. Well, it was a hard landing. We smashed it, but I always have one question for you guys, and you know what it is. But did you die? No, I believe you're still breathing and in chat, so we're good to go. I will shut the engine off. Pop, pop. And again, we're not going to leave the plane. We're just going to get the next flight plan ready to go and do our second leg, and we'll be done for today. Heading back to Princess Juliana or St. Martin Airport. See, let's go to how do I start over? Route? I think that's it. Yeah, route, and then we'll just do the opposite. We'll do a Mike Delta, Papa Charlie. See, you can now hear that the engines are off. The APU didn't actually fire back up. But we do have external power. And we'll get the APU fired up again. I don't think I ever actually turned off the APU, so I think it should still be on. Oh, look at that. I see you over there, Straw Killer. Where do you change the Q and H on the 787? Right here. Right here. So barrel set. So right now I have mine set to HPA if you want to switch between the two. There's a little click spot right here. Click on that. It switches to IN, which is inches of mercury, which is the US way that we do it. Or you can click on it again, switch to HPA, which is what they use out here in Dominican Republic. And then you just turn this around to do it. I also have a button mapped to my throttle that allows me to change it without actually reaching up there and doing it. Very helpful. Okay, so MDPC to, not in database, you a lie, to back to Princess Juliana, TNCM. This is gonna be fun. This is the flight I've been looking forward to all day. That was just a warm-up, guys. That was just a warm-up. Dom Smith, hello and welcome to the chat. Thank you for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow Royal family. Great to see you guys. Alright, Captain Cross Country is on long final runway 27. By the way, guys, let me mention this too. Let me go first. Wait for me to take off. Let me land first, because what I would love to do is after I land, give me a nice view on the beach of the rest of you guys landing as well. I think that'd be so freaking dope. So, and if some of you guys don't have time to do a full flight and just want to join us there just for the landing, I would love to watch a few of you guys attempt landing here. And it won't be a landing contest, just watching people land. Basically, plane spotting when we get back to Princess Juliana. All right, so route. We have a waypoint. Let me see. And as you guys know, maybe not, but what I usually do is I have my Google Drive has the flight plan file. So if you just want to go ahead and just copy that instead of doing all this stuff manually, you can do that. Just type in !FLP, and Nightbot should get you the flight plan for today. You can download that from Google Drive and just import it right into your Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think it'll only work though if you start on the runway, sadly. Alright, MDPC, let's load that from SimBrief. And while we're waiting, go to the next track. Yeah. Oh yeah, don't let me forget about the sun setting. We'll change the time of day 2 on the landing. Somebody was requesting us to land at night. Hey, what up, man? I wish I knew what that said, but I don't know that language. But welcome to the stream, man. Good to see you. Bro, I wish we could do replay. I wish. Hamlet, sorry, there are no replays in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So we cannot do a replay. Alright guys, you are free to board. We are now boarding. Ollie Bobs, welcome back, man. Good to see you. No, long time no see, my friend. Welcome to the stream. Alright, doors open. Alright, first waypoint. Bravo. Quebec. November. Oops, that's not right. I missed the Bravo. Bravo. Quebec. November. There it is. Like, turn the flight plan into a song? Bro, only a pilot. Is it gonna do it? Is it gonna make me wait? Yes, Wesley, I do play Among Us. Yes, I do. Oh, I put it in VIA. That's why it didn't work. Bravo. Bravo, A, Quebec. November. Alright, now it should work. After that, we got RTE2. There we go. I wonder why it takes so long. I've been good, man. I've been good. I can't complain, man. Thankful, healthy, alive. Too blessed to be stressed, my friend. Too blessed to be stressed. I got too much to be thankful for, man. Wait, is that an airway? That is an airway. Let's see if it works. Jaden Sausage. What up, man? Good to see you. Have I tried the freeware CRJ? Actually, no, I haven't. I saw somebody streaming it the other day, but I haven't tried it. Is it actually good? Or is it just like a knockoff? Like, am I actually gonna enjoy it? Loic Lemiuk. Hello, welcome to the stream. Okay, this airway ain't working. But we're going to SJU though. Sierra Juliet uniform. So the cool thing is that this flight plan should take us to the northern side of Puerto Rico, or over. How long is the flight? It's gonna be an hour. Or no, actually, it's gonna be like 45 minutes. Yeah, like 45 minutes. There we go, direct. STT. These waypoints take forever to load in. And in PASIC. You know that I need you, but I'm so sick of this, not sure I can leave you. It'd be so hard to quit, but every night that we explode, wish I could walk out that door. Hate that I need you. Yeah. All right, that should be all of our waypoints en route. Activate, execute, departure, arrival. We do have an arrival into Princess Juliana. It's a Uluba 1. I think it's the only arrival. And again, it does not put in everything for us. Why? I don't know. I don't know why it's not working. Oh well. We'll do visual again. The weather's nice out there. Alright, that's done. The legs are set. It should be correct. We're gonna hope that they... Oh, well, wow. Hold on a second. Hold on. Look at this. Red flag. It says SJU is 4,000 miles away. Edvin Mysterious, thank you for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue family. That means we chose the wrong SJU. So I need to fix that. Holy crap. I had a feeling that was gonna happen. SJU. Alright, let's go with the second one. Oh, great. It's gonna keep both of them in there. Alright, How about clear or delete? Delete. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And delete. Alright, beautiful. SJU. Wow. Omar Apollo. Hello, good to see you, man. Welcome to the stream, bro. Yes, well spotted. I was like, no. Alright, it's the one we want right here, I think. STT needs to be replaced as well, because that one was like forever far away. Let me see. Legs. Yep, 135, 4,000, 8,000, 8,000. All these waypoints are wrong. Every single one of these ain't waypoints. It might just be STT. Let me see. Let's replace STT. Something else. Thank you, Omar, for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family, my friend. Welcome aboard. Alright, so we're gonna delete that STT, and I screwed it up, my bad. I was trying to go through it quickly and I wasn't checking the GPS coordinate, and I just clicked whatever I wanted to click. Nick Kubers, or Cubers. How's it going from Zimbabwe? What's up, man? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. We're gonna, I know a lot of you guys have been requesting us fly in Africa. We did a flight from Northern Africa a couple weeks ago, I think, but we haven't done a flight like in Africa. So we're gonna be doing one maybe even this week, honestly. Like, yeah. I know tomorrow I'm thinking about doing a neo flight. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are interested in that, but I'll be doing a neo flight tomorrow. Or neo flight, which is like the career mode kind of deal. Alright, the rest of that looks good. Alright, ready to push. And then Thursday, what's today? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something else. And then Friday, something else. I'm thinking about maybe let me know now, honestly. If you guys be interested in seeing me do a DCS flight or DCS stream this week in the A10, please let me know. If enough people want to see it, I will stream it, because I kind of been thinking about doing it anyways. If nobody wants to see it, then I just won't do it. I'll just play DCS by myself with my Discord friends. But yeah, let me know if you guys want to see DCS later this week, because I might do that Thursday as like a little short break for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Let's get pushed back. Did I vote? I am supposed to do it later today. I'm a last minute voter. I'm those last few votes you see ticking on the news. All right. Yeah, we're ready, baby. All right, so beacon is on. We never turned it off. APU is on. External power is disconnected. Let's get pushed back. Alright, we'll take off. Let's use the other runway, the one we didn't use. So I'm gonna go nose to the right. Wait, can I go right? Maybe not. We'll go what one we went. We'll do 26. 26 is what we'll do. Alright, music's getting turned down. And let's go nose to the left then. Where's my button? No, right. It's right. Yeah, there we go. JNG Aviation, welcome back, bro. Good to see you. David DeCalo, welcome back as well, bro. Great to see you, man. Grant says you'd watch it. That's amazing. That's good. Let's see. Let's get the engine started. All right, starting both engine 1 and 2. It's crazy. You don't really hear the engine start. You just hear the air turning on. That's it. All right, pushback, stop right there. You're already on runway. Sounds good. Waiting for me. Sounds good. Oh, you're going that way? I was going to take off the opposite direction, but that works too. Yeah, we can just do that runway. That's the closest one. Let's just make it easy on ourselves. Have I started my PPL yet? I have only done partial ground school. I guess that's the way you would say it. I've basically gone through the entire ground school. I just haven't taken the test. So yes, I've done ground school, but I have not taken the ground test. And yes, I want to work towards my PPL. I just haven't had the money. That's really the only reason. I just haven't had the money to put into it yet. Right now, me and my wife are saving for a house, so all my extra money is going to that. Which means I'm just broke all the time. K1, where are we now? We are at Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. Just the eastern tip. And we're heading back to Princess Juliana. Add some flaps down. Taxi lights coming on. And we are ready to go. Yep, we're ready. Let me get, this is one view I like to do. Let me see. Let's get this set up. Bam, there we go. All right, let's go. My parking brake on? Oh, it is. I was like, why am I not moving? All right, guys, flight number 2. 787 XE. Punta Cana to Princess Juliana. Is it complicated to fly? It doesn't have to be, no. Puffy Alec, welcome to the stream, man. Turn on my anti-ice. It's a little chilly up there. I'll wait till I actually see rain or something. Have I given up on Infinite Flight? I wouldn't say given up on it. I'm just not playing it right now. How am I finding ground school? I actually really enjoyed it, to be honest with you. Or I am enjoying it, I should say. It's a lot of stuff to learn. A lot of things that I never knew. Little things, like really tiny, small things, like, you know, I don't know, aircraft system, like aerodynamics, and, you know, like a lot of the basic stuff I knew already, you know, pre-ground school. But it's kind of like, if you want to be a pilot, these are all the things that you need to actually know. And it's kind of interesting to know, like, this is the stuff I actually need to know to go out and fly a real plane. So it's pretty cool. I'm doing it online with angleofattack.com. He's Chris Palmer out there in Alaska. Andrew Newhouse, hello, welcome to the stream, my friend. Good to see you. All right, we're lined up. I don't think I ever disconnected from Vatsim. You know, I think this is the right runway. Cause look at the windsock over there. Let me check on Vatsim, make sure I am. Yes, I am still online, but I want to refile, and I need to reconnect my my radios. I need to refile my flight plan. But I'll do it in the air. Oh yeah, it's almost toga time, guys. Almost toga time. Alright, we're just waiting for the A320. Alright, he's rolling. Oh shoot, I need to log off first. Disconnect. There we go. Connect. Alright guys, we're ready to go. Alright, land lights on. I have those mapped to my honeycomb yoke. Alright, flaps are set. Auto brake set to RTO, which stands for reject takeoff. And head tracking. The live stream automatic subtitles are so interesting. What do they say? I want to know. I want to know. First of all, I'm glad that the subtitles are actually working. Second thing is, how does a computer translate what I am saying when I barely say anything correctly? So I'm really interested to see what that looks like. Do I use PASIC on stream ever? Yes, I do. I'm not using it today because this is kind of more of a simple, laid-back flight. But a couple weeks ago, we did use it. And the A320, I believe, is what we were flying at the time. Come on, baby, turn. There we go. All right, the traffic is gone. Toga time. Airspeed's alive. Using my toes for the rudder. There's 100 knots. 120. Okay, kind of drifted out to the left there. Let her fly. Dope. All right, gears up. Alright, we're en route. Look into being a ground instructor. What does that mean? That sounds interesting. Alright, pulling the power back. We're below 10,000 feet, so we can't go faster than 250 knots. And this plane will do it if you let it. So I'm pulling the power back a little bit. And climbing, we'll be climbing through these clouds again. Very nice. Clouds, kind of overcast. Not raining at the moment, but it is a bit overcast over out here in Punta Cana. Push that nose forward, get some more power. We're getting a little too slow now. Oh yeah, look at these clouds. This looks legit, man. This is cool. You can see the traffic up ahead of us. Sadly, TCAS doesn't work with multiplayer traffic. It only works with the AI traffic. So right now you can hear me clicking the trimming it forward. As I add power, the node wants to go up. So I'm trying to control that. Let's kind of zoom out our ND range here. There we go. So our next waypoint is SJU to be right above Puerto Rico, San Juan, Puerto Rico. Still flying by hand. Autopilot is off at the moment. Flying into the clouds. We're now completely IFR. Which is kind of fun. I personally really enjoy flying. I don't know how I would feel about this in real life, but I really enjoy flying by hand when I can't see, because you have to really pay attention to the flight director. Layla Priest, thank you very much for that subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family. I appreciate that. Alright, I'm gonna go up to what's our cruise? I didn't even say what our cruise level was today. Thank you as well, Hawk, for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family. I know my hands are off, but we're still on autopilot. That's how well I got it trimmed out. 31,000 on this leg, guys. 31,000. Wait for that breakout. Wait for that breakout. Alright, nose down, nose down. Oh, there it is. There it is. We're surfing now, guys. Oh my god, look at that angle. Oh, put that down. Put that thing down. Chill the heck out. Alright, I think it's time for autopilot. It is time for autopilot now. Let's hit it. Alright, autopilot is on. I think, no, it's not. It's not on. Yeah, it is on. It's on. LNAV is activated, and I'm going to use flight change mode again. And our speed we want to climb out as about 280 for me. 87, that works too. So the nose should point down to be able to do 280 knots, and then start climbing at 280 knots. So now we can enjoy the view. Cape Voice, hello, welcome to the stream, man. That's funny, Adam. That's funny. Look at this beautiful plane, though, guys. Let's appreciate this plane right here, the 787. You got me and Cynthia sitting up front in the cockpit. Hawk, I use Trek IR, yes, but there is a cheaper alternative. There's a few. The one that I know of the best is I'm a sexy guy. Yeah, that's very true. But thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Blu-ray family. I appreciate that. What's it called? Smooth Track. It's an app. It's an app on your mobile device, and it can track your head movement. So I mean, you already probably have a mobile device, so that's easy. And I think it's like, it's not very expensive. I think it's like $5 or $10 or something like that for the actual application. Thank you, DW. What up, man? Welcome to the stream. Thank you very much. Thank you for subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family. We're still climbing out of Punta Cana, heading for Princess Juliana Airport. If you just joined us, you have got here at the right time for the fun flight. This is the good one. Now you're passing at 18,000 feet now. We'll be standard there on the barrel. Standard barrel pressure. And we should be there in no time, to be honest with you. I forgot to track it. Oh shoot, hold on. Oh shoot, hold on. Flight planning. Where's that? There it is. Will I ever be a pilot in real life? Yes, absolutely, my friend. Abso-freaking-lutely. That is kind of my goal. Or not kind of, that is my goal. Like, that's what really, I mean, I know we're having fun here. Let's be honest. We're having fun. Microsoft Flight Simulator can just be fun. You know, there's some things about it that are not 100% realistic, but we can have some fun with it. But at the same time, flight simming as a whole, for me, is really a gateway into the aviation world. It is the way that I am learning about all the systems, you know, all the planes, learning how to fly, all the techniques, all the procedures, all that kind of stuff I'm learning with the idea or with the purpose of becoming a real pilot and flying these planes in real life someday. Swamy Bapami, thank you for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow Royal family. Let's see, and as well, thank you, Norman Lobo, for the subscription. Welcome to Blue Arrow family. These have to be fake accounts. Who went out there and created 10, 50 different fake accounts and then subscribed to my channel? Thank you. I'm just kidding. No, but appreciate it so much for everybody who subscribed today and in the last few weeks, man. You guys have been amazing. Appreciate that very, very much. Right now, I'm just kind of getting some Sim Toolkit stuff set up. I forgot to do it earlier. So we'll do that so we can track and find out how long we are, or how far out we are from getting to where we're going. Hopefully it'll catch me. There we go. Flight planning, live map. Captain Cross Country's right above me. Sounds good. Nice. Right now it says we're 40 minutes out, but I don't think that's accurate. Because, oh, actually it might be because we're going so slow. Why are we going so slow? We should be doing 280. Oh well. We'll do it. We'll make it happen. Hamza Saber. New sub. Thank you, man. Appreciate that, man, very much. Thank you, man. You don't have to. I know a lot of you guys don't have to. You don't have to sub. You can watch and not sub. But I appreciate you guys for hitting the sub button. There it is. Thank you, man. And welcome to Blue Arrow, your family. Hamza Saber. Hamza Saber or is it Saber? How do you pronounce that? Is there a difference between Microsoft Flight Simulator and X-Plane? Yes, there's a very big difference between the two of those. Obviously, they're made by two different developers. The graphics are different. The weather, the way the weather is generated is different. The planes are different. I mean, it's so much. It's so many differences. Honestly, it's too much to go into. All right, planes doing some wacky stuff. We're gonna come out of. Actually, we're not even using flight change mode. Okay, now it's on. And now it's off. Oh, yeah, right. We're cruising at 31,000. That makes sense. Gotcha. Valens, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family. Appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. Alright, so we're cruising now. The plane should go ahead and speed up now for us. And we should actually be in Mach now. And I'm gonna do Mach point freaking fast. Let's do Mach point fast. That's what I want today. But yeah, there's a huge difference between Microsoft Flight Simulator and X-Plane. And the same with P3D. There's too many to count, to be honest. It's just the main thing between Microsoft and X-Plane is, I can't even say that. Like, it's so much. Let's just list a few. Tripel, thank you for the subscription as well, man. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family, my friend. Graphics are different, right? It's up to you, I guess, to honestly compare and be like, all right, I like this one better. Most people would say Microsoft's graphics are better, but some people could go and say X-Plane looked better. I don't think X-Plane's graphics look bad. I just think their sky looks like crap, and I think their clouds look like crap. Other than that, the planes look pretty darn good. The scenery, the trees, you know, stuff like that. There's a big difference there visually between X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Simulator. When it comes to flight model, like how the plane flies, the characteristics of the planes, X-Plane has a lot more years of experience and expertise in that area. So I would say X-Plane is a bit more accurate when it comes to that flight model. But Microsoft Flight Simulator, you know, they have a flight model, and it's not, you know, and people will complain about it all they want, but I mean, they put a lot of time into it, so it's still being tweaked and getting better and better, but it's way better than FSX. Let's just be honest with that. Third party is honestly probably the biggest difference is third party support. There's a ton of it with X-Plane because it's been around for a while. Microsoft Flight Simulator is brand new, so it's different there. So again, it's just a few things. Yes, D299er, we are live on Twitch also. Hey, every Hawk, thank you for donation gift. Thank you so much for that, man. I appreciate that, bro. Thank you for that donation, man. You didn't have to do it, but you did, and I thank you for it. Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that. Okay, so Aviation and More has only taken a flight lesson in a Cessna. You're 13, trying to go into Oregon Air National Guard once you can. That's pretty cool, man. It's a good way to get into aviation for sure, man. So cool, man. Plus, you'll be serving the country too, man. So that's cool. Definitely wishing the best luck for you, bro. For sure. Ali God, you're from Turkey. You're a refugee young boy dreaming to be a pilot in the future. Bro, you're going to do it for sure. Just don't give up on that dream, man. No matter how hard it gets, do not give up on that dream. That's kind of where I am right now, right? I'm getting older, you know what I'm saying? I'm still not a pilot yet, and it doesn't look like it's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy for anybody, but it's not going to be easy for me to accomplish that dream, right? But I'm not giving up on it. I'm still going to make it happen no matter what. So, yeah, man, I'm still, you know, I always talk about this. I look forward to the day that all of us, or not, maybe not all of us, but many of us can meet in person and do a real life fly-in. I think that'll be so cool. Or fly together, you know what I mean? I think it'd be pretty dope. Kate Voice, on air and FS Economy have career mode, but yeah, so career mode is something that I wish that Microsoft would incorporate by default in the sim. This is something I've been wanting forever. I don't know if they changed their mind about it yet, but I've been wanting it. But you could use a third-party app called FS Economy, which is my personal favorite. There's also On Air. There's I think a couple others, but another one that I know that I've been using recently is called NeoFly. It's free. It's native. Well, not native, but it works for Microsoft Flight Simulator very easily. It has all the Microsoft planes in there. That's what I've been using lately. It's called NeoFly, and it's kind of like a career mode. You start off with one plane, a Cessna or whatever plane you choose, and then you have to earn money by doing jobs, and you know, you can even hire pilots, things like that. Merlin Scholes, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family. But it's pretty cool. I'm just getting into it, so I'm still learning the ins and outs about it. But I'm personally the kind of person who, I mean, I love flight simulation. I love actually simming to be realistic, but I also like simming as a role play aspect as well, to be able to do a flight and do like a career mode, you know, because over time you run out of places to fly to, right? Like, I mean, you fly to all the places that you can think of to fly to, but the cool thing about a career mode or some type of mission-based system or something like FS Economy, On Air, NeoFly is that it tells you where to fly. Just like in real life, like usually as a pilot, you don't usually choose where you go. If you're in training, you still don't choose where you go. Your instructor's like, all right, you're flying here. Sometimes you can choose where you go, but usually somebody else is choosing where you fly to, and that's one thing we were missing in Microsoft and in flight sims in general. So I would definitely recommend, if you're looking for career mode, try NeoFly, FS Economy, or On Air. Yeah, that'd be cool, Triple. Yeah, for me, I mean, my immediate goal is to obviously get a PPO, private pilot license, and then after that, I want to get my commercial pilot, because that way I can actually fly and make money doing it. And then from there on, it was kind of see where it leads me to. I mean, yeah, airlines would be pretty cool, but that's not like the only cool aviation job, right? There's other things you can do as a pilot, and so I don't want to limit myself to say, hey, if I'm not an airline pilot, then I'm gonna feel unaccomplished. Like, I want to do all kind of things. So that's just how I feel about it. I just know that I want to fly, and I am meant to be in the air. It just feels right when I'm up there. Ahmed Khan, hello man, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you, man. All right, guys, so we're cruising en route to Princess Juliana. We are only 20 minutes out. I guess it's gonna be a pretty quick flight. We're flying over Puerto Rico right now. I think we're over. Let me see. Donde está? Yes, we are over the northern part of Puerto Rico. We can't see it because of the clouds, but if you kind of look closely, you can see there's some mountains and green down there. The 757-200 is getting reworked. Yeah, I predicted that. I predicted the heck out of that. Marble Sack, welcome to the stream, man. Yes, this is going to be a dusk landing. I need to change it. Thanks for reminding me. That's cool, KLM fan. You're going to do maintenance first and then get into flying. That's cool. You should, Aviation. Post your next Cessna flight for sure, man. What is the Global Sim Alliance? Global Sim Alliance is a bunch of simmers on Twitch. I can't name them all because there's a bunch of them now. But a bunch of simmers on Twitch that just love simming, whether it's flight simming, trucking sims, different types of simulators. And they don't only play simulators; they play other things too. But it's basically a group of people, a Twitch group that was created a while back, and thankfully I was added to that group about a year ago. So that's what the Global Sim Alliance is. Where do you see the time when you're arriving? So it's a bit complicated in Microsoft Flight Simulator because you can't see it. You can only see how far you are from the next waypoint. I haven't been able to find anywhere that it tells you how far you are from the destination, right? So right now it says that we're 15 miles away from SJU and we'll get there at 16:52 Zulu, which is not correct because that's not even the right time. But I'm using SimToolkit Pro, and SimToolkit Pro tells you, if you have your flight plan in the system, it tells you how long you have left in your flight. So right now we have 19 minutes to go until we get back to Princess Juliana. Oh yeah, time. Okay, so what time is it now? We want to land at dusk. It's getting dark a bit earlier now. So let's set it to like, again, we're only 20 minutes out, right? So around here, oh, that looks sick. Yeah, let's just do that. That looks, I like that setting right there. I can dig that 100%. Progress page on the CDU, let's see. I don't know if that works. That's where you would usually look for it. Yep, it's blank. There ain't nothing on the progress page. Nothing at all. And sometimes in the legs too, you can see it should calculate like how long it takes to get to each waypoint. But again, I don't think that's simulated in this plane right now. Are we in the right frequency on 22.8? All right, indeed we are. It should be on the FMC page under my progress page is blank. There ain't nothing there. Nada. It is empty. Inop. I mean, it lets me click on it, but nothing's there. So what's been bothering me is this one is not zoomed out. Let's zoom this one out. I usually like this one to be on plan. There we go. Grant Stykes, hello, welcome back, my friend. We'll be descending here like very shortly. Very shortly. Matter of fact, let me get my chart ready because I want to see if there's anything we need to do specifically on this descent. Look at this. Oh my god, it looks so good. Oh, somebody take a screenshot of that. If you go to the other side, we'll see the sun setting. The thing about these shorter flights is that I get so distracted by the scenery or the scene or the clouds or whatever that it's very tough for me to stay on task and stay focused. I know the reverse tail is killing me too, guys. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why it's like that. Look at that though. Just ignore the tail for now. Just ignore that. Welcome back, JD Bear. Oh yeah, the Caribbean. Gemini Jets, hello, welcome to the stream, my friend. Thank you for the subscription and welcome to the Blue Arrow Royal family. Oh yeah, it is going down. Look at that. Ka-chow, ka-chow. Ka-chow, ka-chow. Ka-chow. Oh, I love it. Ka-chow. Have I flown before? I've flown technically twice, but really once. I've actually flown a plane, and that was that this year or last year. I think that was last year. I always forgot where it was. I need to look at my Instagram and see what date that was. But my godfather is a pilot, and he took me up on in his Cessna 172, and he basically let me fly the majority of that flight except for takeoff and landing. So I was able to fly all the en route portion out and back. But I did not fly. I did not land. So I've never landed or taken off before. Like myself. I was in the plane when it took off and landed, but I've never done it myself. Yeah, it's cool, Malfufi. Yeah, somebody else just came in chat and said they're reworking the 757. So that's what I was going to say, actually. The 757 rework. I called it because I was like, hey, they already made the 777. They've done 2 777s, right? They've had 2 updates featuring a 777. Variants of a 777. Traveling Jack, thank you very much for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family. Appreciate that. And so why not go to its close cousin, the 757 or 767? We're talking about Infinite Flight Mobile Flight Simulator, by the way. Why not? Like, it just makes sense. You already have most of the data you need. The modeling is almost exactly the same. Not exactly, but it's pretty darn close to the same as the 75 and the 76. Why not go from the 777 to the 76 and just do that? It's just an easier conversion. Hopefully they can get it done quicker than it took them to do everything else. So this makes sense, and plus it really needs work because those planes look like crap in Infinite Flight, the 76 and 75, and the 777s look really good. All right, let's go ahead and descend now. What's on my? Is that a glare in my nose? Oh yeah, there's a glare. Like, what the heck is on my nose? A glare? So we'll send down to, we'll do 8,000. And vertical speed. And time to dive again. I really need a good landing this time. Like, we gotta put it down softly. No more of this smash stuff. We gotta put it down softly. I'm already getting buzzes for overspeeding, even though we're not overspeeding yet. William, this is the Boeing 787. Can you fly Vatsim on Infinite Flight? No, you cannot. Alright, you can see now the weather is changing as we get closer to Princess Juliana. Hopefully it'll stay partly cloudy and not just clear like it looks like it's trying to do. Okay, no, I think it's gonna stay like that. Cool. I just don't like flying over the water when it's completely clear. It's just kind of boring. All aviation and Amogus. Hello, man. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Please fly PIA. I don't know what PIA is, but we probably will fly it eventually. How long until landing? Probably, let me think, 15? Yeah, 15 minutes. And we're on the ground. Okay, now we're over speeding. Let's just go halfway back on the speed brake, not all the way. Let's do 50% speed. Speed brake. and we'll pull our actual power back too. Something like that. That should work for us. So this is a few islands here between Puerto Rico and Princess Juliana. Oliver Smith, hello, welcome to the stream, my friend. Welcome back. Have a nice day as always with the yoke, PC, etc. How much would it cost? Again, my PC cost about $2,500, but that's not just my PC. I got my PC plus my monitor. Basically, my budget was $2,500. I got my PC, I got my monitor. What else did I get with that? PC, monitor, keyboard, mouse, and something else. Oh, I got the Thrustmaster T16000 set, which is the joystick and throttle. Not a yoke, but a joystick and throttle, which is actually only like $99, something like that. So it's pretty cheap. So that's all I got in my first setup build, right? That's about how, you know, what I spent. If you want to get a yoke with that, the yoke, how much a yoke going for right now? Like $300, something like that. So you got to add that into your price. How do I know when to descend? Well, sometimes I use charts. There is an actual rule of thumb that I'm not going to go into. It's a bit more complicated. I would say Google when to descend, and you'll probably find what they call the rule of thumb, and it's kind of like a calculation based on how far you are and how fast you are. You can also use websites that will actually calculate it for you. But right now, I usually don't. If you're flying like an airliner, it's a pretty safe bet to descend around 25 to 20 minutes out, if you know how far away you are. That's the thing. Chrome, hello man, welcome to the stream. You haven't been on in a while, which you really regret. That's all good, man. That's all good. Yes, that's too, Marble Sack. If you use VNAV, it'll descend for you, but we're not using VNAV today because we don't trust it. Saint Martini, yes sir. Yes, Adam, I would absolutely recommend a honeycomb yoke, for sure. Right, no questions asked. I can't see the island yet, which is good. That might be it right there. Yeah, I think that is it right there. Or it might be over there, I'm not sure. William, today we're landing at a airport called Princess Juliana, Saint Martin. A very popular airport. Alright, so I don't like what it's gonna try to have us do. You see on my flight plan here, if you guys were here earlier in the stream, you know that when we departed at Dandy. But we don't want to go over there. Wait, why are you skipping Gouda? Like, what is your problem? That is on my flight plan for a reason. Interesting. Let me see. Interesting. Hey man, these planes are so unpredictable on Microsoft Flight Simulator. They never do what even the simplest of things, it just never does what I expect it to do. Yeah, I don't want to go to Dandy. Dandy is pointless to go to Dandy. Dandy is out of the way. It is 100% out of the way. So if I could go direct to Gouda, that's what I want to do. Thank you very much, 10 Mosquito, for the follow. Welcome to the Blue Aeroid family. Appreciate that very, very much, my friend. All right, direct. Where's direct at? There's a direct key. Where's direct? I think I just have to click on it. Gouda.
All aboard!
Yep. Execute. There we go. I think I fixed it. Oh, I just missed somebody. I'm sorry. I saw somebody popped up and I was reading. But thank you very much for that subscription. Welcome to the Blue Aeroid family. I appreciate that, my friend, very, very much. All right, we're descending, passing 2,000 now for Gouda in about 50 miles. I don't know what the plane thinks it's doing, but we're trying to get it figured out. As a backup plan, I am going to use my heading bug here and point that to where I actually want to go. As a matter of fact, we're just going to do that like that. Instead, I'm heading select, and now we're going to just skip the LNAV and the the lateral navigation and is used a heading bug. At GOUDA or GOUDA, it doesn't say how high we need to be at GOUDA. How high do I need to be at GOUDA? I don't know, maybe 5,000? 4,000? Probably won't be there at 4,000. Yeah, let's do 4,000 at GOUDA. So we're a bit high, but we got a ways to go still. Stop zooming in. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and expedite our descent a bit. We'll do about 2,500 feet per minute. All right, hopefully that works. And I'll change my headings a little bit. And we'll get slowed down. And speed brakes are still out. 50% out. We'll go a little bit more speed brakes because you can see we're right below the red tape. Yeah, that's our airport right there. That's the island. Wind shear. Oh no. Captain Nate, what up, man? Good to see you. I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain, man. How are you? And Kim Dirk with the tasty Dutch cheese. Hello, good to see you. Welcome to the stream, bro. I'm always yelling at these planes, bro. Always. Kyoko, Sila. Greetings from Kenya. Good to see you, man. I wish I knew how to say something in Kenyan. But I don't. Welcome to the stream, though. Good to see you, man. Abby, hello. Good to see you, man. Welcome to the stream. I'm catching up on some chat stuff, too. Blink, you have taken off and landed before in real life. It was cool. I recommend doing it. Yeah, I can't wait for that day, man, to get my first takeoff and landing in real life. I really do. I do really look forward to that. One thing that I did do when I did fly in real life was stalls, and I've told this story before, but it feels like a roller coaster, especially on your first time when you don't really know what to expect. Matter of fact, the second time we did like 3 times in the air, and even though I was expecting it, it still just was. I just wasn't expecting it. It's just, I don't know, just crazy. It's just a heart-dropping feeling when you're in the air. Alright, we're still at 14,000. We should be okay. Our speed is a little bit out of hand right now. Why are we? Yeah, I really don't get it. So you see right here our N1. This is our power setting, right? So we're at 90% power, and we're descending at 2,000. And I have my autopilot set to 267 knots. So there's no reason at all why that should be. We're turning it off. Yeah, turning it off. The plane is doing things that it shouldn't be doing. Every time I fly this plane, it reminds me why I don't fly this plane. Every time. Thank you for reminding me why I don't fly you. I'll just stick with the A320. Dandy, hello, welcome to the stream, man. I'm doing good, man. Thanks for asking. All right, Captain Cross Country is behind me, entering a long downwind for 2-8. Sounds good. That is a long downwind. Very long downwind. Hakuna Matata. I like that. Well, I know that. I've seen the movie. But I mean, I didn't think that was a way to greet somebody, though. Do I greet somebody by saying Hakuna Matata? Or are you just telling me Hakuna Matata because I don't have to worry about it? There's a song. I don't know. I'm personally, I really like Afro beat music. I also like Afro, like more Afro poppy music as well. Afro house. I like a lot of Afro music in general. But there's a song called Hakuna Matata, and I can't remember who made it. But I always jam the heck out of that song. He said in flight lessons, doing touch and goes is literally the most fun thing to do. Oh, I can't wait. You make me so jealous right now. You're making me so jealous. Yeah, so right now we're idle. Yeah, we're idle in our power. Trying to get slowed down while we're descending. We're at 9,000 now, and see the clouds starting to come back in. Look at that. That is just nice. That is a beautiful painting right there out our front window. I really like it. Let's shallow our descent now a little bit more. as we're now at 8,000 feet, and we're too fast for being below 10,000. So we'll get that adjusted. Landing lights are already on, and we'll be landing very soon. Let's go ahead and make a left turn a little bit over to Uluba. I believe we need to be at 2,700 feet at that waypoint. Ryan Roth, welcome to the stream, man. Welcome back. Good to see you. It's going good, man. Can't complain. Thanks for asking. I am hungry. So once we land, the sooner I land, the sooner I get to eat. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to this approach too, but you know, I'm hungry. You know, I gotta eat. With your thrust joystick, how much will I need for money? Because I had 1,500 laptop that ran MSFS perfectly. This throttle, the one I'm using now, is pretty expensive. I can't remember how much it costs. Again, if you didn't know, all of my setup is in the description. There's links to Amazon, and the prices are all there. So if you are interested in getting anything that you see on my desk or in my setup, you can look in the description, and there should be a link that takes you directly there to check out any of those things. You can add it to your cart for later, whichever, it doesn't matter. But I went ahead and did that because I get these questions a lot, and I want to go ahead and provide the links and everything for you guys to check them out. So the honeycomb link is in there. The HOTAS throttle is in there. My other joysticks, I have a few other joysticks that are also listed down. Even the stuff that I'm not using right now are listed there. So just letting you know. What about soul funk? I do like soul and funk. I don't know that they're different, but I like them. I like them both. Madagascar cartoon song? No, that's not the one. That's not the one. That's not the song I was talking about. All right, airport is off our nose at our, I'll say 11 o'clock right over here. So we're not far. It's gonna be a very nice night landing, man. Very nice night landing. And our speed is still quite fast, but it's okay. We'll level off here, like I said, at 4,000. We'll hold 4,000 for a little bit. Once we get to Uluba, we're gonna hit 2,700, I believe is what the chart says. 2,600 at Vaki, going in for runway 10 into Princess Juliana. I see some clouds out there in the distance too. Bob Ross created these cloud graphics. Yes, yes, thank you. That is perfect. That is perfect. Bob Ross created this picture right here. Oh, look at that. Why aren't we looking forward? But look behind us. I think the sun already set. Yes, Taha, we are landing right now. That is just gorgeous, man. Shout out to Bob Ross. Bob Ross in the chat. Yeah, hungry for landing too. Yes, sir. Alright, let's turn left a bit. Should we take a completely dark night tour? We'll see what the lighting looks like when we get there. I don't know. Is that traffic or is that the runway? Yeah, that's the runway right there. I have not yet seen the night lighting for this airport, so. Alright, let's give some power. We're now level at 4,000 feet. But we do want to stay below 250 knots. That plane is fire, bro. I don't know if anybody's gonna get this, but this approach slaps. What should you get if you don't want to build your laptop? I honestly don't know. I've never had a gaming laptop before. I'm not sure if that would be cheaper or if it would be better to build your own PC. I'm personally I prefer to have a PC rather than a laptop. because of the customizability. I don't think I said that right, but yeah. Yes, sir, Ryan. We are heading back to St. Martin. Very close. You see, we can actually see the airport right there. It says 5-minute ETA on my thing. We'll see if that's right. Caution wind shear, some of you guys are saying up there. No, we got one land, and unless I have to go around for not on purpose reasons, we'll only do one landing right now. YTB, what up, man? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. My opinion on whether Microsoft Flight Simulator is gamey or simmy, for me, kind of comes to how you use it. You can use Microsoft. I know Microsoft Flight Simulator is not like to the level of like P3D and X-Plane add-ons, but by default, you can still be realistic, right? You can still do things realistic and play it as a sim and not just a game. But the thing is, a lot of people are watching streamers use, not just streamers, people are watching videos and their friends and all kind of people play Microsoft Flight Simulator as a game and not as a sim. So I believe personally that it is a sim, but it could also be a game. It depends on how you use it. The same with even an X-Plane and P3D. Like, yes, those are sims, but you could use them as games. Let's be honest. You could just mess around and really just use it as a game. So it really depends on the person and how they're flying it. All right, we should be good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and fly it from here. Landing lights are already on. How fast are we? A little fast. Put that power back one more time. Disconnecting the autopilot. I now have the controls. Beautiful people, we are landing in Princess Juliana. Let's see if we can duck below these clouds before we even get there, because I don't want to be IFR. Thank you, Tomlinson, for this subscription or follow. Welcome to Blu-ray family. Yeah, the add-ons will come, man. The add-ons will come, and this will be a completely different sim in the next few months. All right, so we're descending. I'm still idle on our power right now. So we're gonna have to go through these clouds a little bit, but we can still see the runway lights though, which is good. We're too fast for flaps, way too fast for flaps. Matter of fact, we need speed brakes. That's what we need right now. We need speed brakes. I think I have a button for speed brakes, but I don't remember what it is, so I have to do it manually. By request, guys, we have a night landing in Princess Juliana. There's a load of people sitting on the runway. Oh no. Oh no. 2500. Okay, I see plane on final. Alright guys, I'm taking my eyes off of the chat. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the gear down now. That's the parking brake. I keep doing that. There's the gear. Oh yeah, I see all there people on the runway now. Alright, speed brake is in the forward position. Setting the brake up. Oops. Alright, auto brakes to 2. We are landing. Head tracking on. Want to do this. Here we go. Alright, let's do it. Alright, gears down and indicating. Slowly adding some flaps in. It's like it was nobody here when we left. Now it's pretty busy. Gotta redeem ourselves. Send in your predictions now if you're watching on Twitch. Alright, speed's a little slow now. Power.
300.
Wind shouldn't be a big factor here.
200.
Why are the lights all still white? Am I really still high? Oh, this does look pretty good at night. Let's be honest, this looks dope at night. I think those pappy lights are wrong. It gotta be. There's no way I'm coming in high. No freaking way.
30.
Watch out for the people and the gate.
10.
Oh my god!
All aboard!
Are you serious? Thank you, Skull Trooper. We're gonna give that another try. That was not acceptable. We hit the gate.
All aboard!
Going around. We tore the gear off. Oh, I can't believe that freaking happened. Are you serious? Alright, doing right traffic. Oh, listen to that toga. Listen to that toga. Gear's coming up. I think it's broken. I think our gear is broken. I don't want to get too much speed. Wow, wow, wow. Oh yeah, I am on Vatsim. I forgot. Princess Juliana traffic. Kayla 116 is going around right traffic. Princess Juliana traffic. F in the chat for sure. Those people are probably dead on the beach right now. Hey, they knew the risk they took for standing there, partying and jumping around, waving their hands, taking selfies. People on the beach. The poor people on the beach. There's gonna be a Twitter hashtag tomorrow in memory of those people on the beach. That beach is gonna be off limits. Like the government is probably. Oh my gear! I think I actually broke the gear because I didn't come up. Thank you, Ron Fi. Despite my horrible attempt at landing just now, you still subscribe. Thank you for that sub. Welcome to Blue family. We're gonna try it again. You guys know me. If I don't get it right, I gotta try it again. I can't go home. Oh, I'm already home, but I can't leave knowing that I screwed up that landing. I've done this landing many times. Look at that night lighting, though. That looks incredible. Prince Juliana traffic. Caitlin 116 heavy right downwind runway 10. Juliana traffic. Second try, yes sir. Let's make it count. Alright, put the gear down early. We'll drop it now. Get ready to turn our right base. We'll follow the other traffic in. And make sure I'm on the right frequency talking to people. It looked so good up until I just came in low. I was like, why? The thing that threw me off is that you guys saw the Pappy lights. They were like solid white. I was like, am I really that low? I mean, that high? So I came in lower than I thought. So something is wrong with those Pappy lights for sure. Something ain't right. Look at that. Look at that. Oh man, look at that freaking Bob Ross view.
All aboard!
Yeah, we're gonna ignore the lights. We're gonna use instinct. Ignore the lights on this one. Thank you, Quench Holt, for the subscription. Welcome to Blu-ray family. I appreciate that, guys. All right, we're gonna tip this again. Taking my eyes off the chat. I'm gonna focus on landing correctly this time. Princess Juliana traffic. Kayla 116 heavy right base to final runway 10. Juliana traffic. I gotta find the runway first. I know it's to my right. Yeah, those poppies were off, man. Off. Yeah, we might be high. Oh, we went wide. Yeah, you're right, Aaron. You're right. I knew it. You heard me say like this has to be too low. This has to be too low. But I was like, you know, I'm gonna trust the airport and its lighting systems, and I was wrong. I was wrong for that. Okay. I can't believe that happened. How hilarious. That's. I'll never forget that. Hit the fence. Hit the freaking fence. Hey, at least it's not like X-Plane where the fence is not. There's no collision. So FYI, if you're gonna land out here, guys, you need to get over that fence because you will hit it. It does exist. Alright, we're completely visual this time. Forget the lights. You can ignore those white lights on the sides. They mean nothing at night at this airport right now. We're gonna try this again. Alright, we're lined up. Juliana traffic. Haley 116 heavies on final runway 10. Juliana traffic. Again, the HUD's not working, FYI, in this version, so can't use that. Again, remember, be ready for that really bad float that this plane likes to do. So
500.
wind should not be a factor.
400.
All right, we're a little bit off to the right. Power, power, power. Power, power, power. All right, we're looking good this time. Alright, we're down. We bounced. Yep, we bounced a little bit. It was a bit harder than I would like to be, but we're here. Woo, versus green, baby. And we missed our only exit, so we're gonna have to back taxi. Yeah. I think there's one right here, isn't there? Yeah, I think there's a back taxi thing over here. Yep, we still got work to do. It sucks, man, because when I was not live, like I did a test. I flew out here earlier. Like I just did a landing out here earlier and got like the smoothest 787 flight landing I've ever had in my life. And now that we're live streaming, I got a 233 just now, which is, you know, it's better. It's better. But still much work to do, man. But I'll take that.
KLM 116 might want to head to the maintenance stand to check them shock absorbers.
Will do. Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll definitely be checking that. I think Kayla might want to take a look at this plane and see if anything's wrong with it, because we definitely broke this baby pretty badly. Juliana traffic, Kayla 116 heavy is back taxing runway, whatever the opposite of 10 is. I think it's 10, 26 or something, 28. Yeah, those beach people will never fly KLM again. All right, come on, move. I think my reversal is still on. Yeah, they were. Makes sense. All right, so we'll taxi back to the gate. So come on, turn.
All aboard!
Thank you, Greco, for the subscription or follow. Welcome to the Blue Aeroid family. That sun setting over there still looks very nice. Penguin says, fun fact, in real life, you don't want a super smooth butter like -60 or 120, more like 150. Yeah, actually, it is correct. It is right. I can't remember what the reason was, but you actually don't want to be too smooth. There's actually a kind of a sweet spot you want to catch on landing. I know in the flight sim community, we all judge landings based on what the feet per minute was, but there's actually a bunch more factors that go into real life landing, besides just how softly you touch the ground. So, all right, we finally got turned around. Not sure why that was so difficult. Obviously, an intentional fence hit for testing purposes. yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, there you go. AVH 360. That's exactly what it is. If you land too smooth, the spoilers will not deploy in real life. That is the reason why. That is correct. VDX Sala, will I play RFS? No, sorry, I will not be playing RFS. Try a 747, maybe I can boat it. Yeah, I think I'm good for today. Trust me, we will be back here though. This scenery is too nice to only fly out here one time. So we will be back to fly out here again. Maybe we'll try a 747 or something like that. Yep, there's that too, Kips. Also, tail strikes if you float for too long. So the conditions for going around are a lot higher in real life than in the sim. In the sim, you pretty much like, all right, well, if I'm gonna make the runway, I'm gonna land. But in real life, you would second guess that. All right, taxiing back to parking. Look at this night lighting. Oh, this looks really good. The ground textures of PBR on the ground. Let's get those flaps up. I'm having a lot of trouble. I'm pretty sure 787s would not take this exact route. Man, why is it so hard to turn? Jeez. Yep, there's that too. Yeah, so again, Adam, there's a lot of different factors that go into landing in real life. Like, it's not just the smoothest. Like he said, in the rain, you want to land a little bit tougher to so you don't slide hydroplane. So that makes sense. I like the night lighting. Besides the pappies not being right, I like how everything looks. I really like how the light reflects off of the ground. And I don't know if you guys noticed on approach, like the little club area right next to the beach has some really nice lighting over there too. Looks like there may be one more spot left for us to park at. I'm using my toe brake, yeah, but sometimes I use too much of it and it just stops me in my tracks. Pretty sure I took out that light pole. Yep, we're gonna take the light pole out. No? Wow, that is like perfect. Just all, like, we were super inches away from hitting that light pole. Be a good time to have some folding wings. But, well, guys, you know, we technically did die the first time. That was definitely a death blow. But welcome to Princess Juliana International St. Martin. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's couple legs. I have enjoyed them. Not the best landings, but it's early in the week. We'll do better. We'll do better. Butter will be served. Alright, we'll park here at Alpha 1. Beautiful. Look, it's the perfect size too. Like, we fit here perfectly. Gotta love it. Parking brake set. Track IR off. Thank you. We'll get the jetway connected. Here we go. Ground services. Ground services. Where's it at? Ground services. Ground services. There it is. Jetway connection. And we'll shut the engine off. Oh, shut the engine off. Bloop, bloop. And there it is. Oh man, this looks so good at night. Oh, it looks so good at night. Let's turn off all the lights. Beacon off, land light off, strobe off, taxi light off. And external power is already on. Alright, we're good. Shut it down. Get the heck off of my plane. Thank you, Tomlinson. Appreciate that. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Thank you everybody who, all the new subscribers, the donators, all the supporters, guys, everybody who's watching. Appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with us today. We're not done just yet. This is our last flight, but I do want to kind of show off some of the night lighting you guys were asking about. As you can see, this just looks so good at night. Wow. If you want to see it during the day, come and watch, or go back and watch the very beginning of the stream. This is a really, really, really well done airport. They did a great job. Here's the A320 shutting his engines off. Oh, that sounds amazing. I want to see if there's any night lighting inside here. Let's see. Yep. Oh, wow. Yeah, very lit. Oh, it's super lit up in here. It's super lit up in here. Thank you, VDX. Yeah, the A320 makes his own parking spot. Let's go downstairs. Downstairs has some nice lighting as well. Very nice. Looks good, man. Good job, Airworthy Designs, man. I'm trying to think of what other sceneries they've made. Cause I'm really, really impressed by this. A lot of people were a little bummed out when they decided that they weren't going to make any more scenery for X-Plane. I was like, well, I mean, they're probably going to make something really good for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Let's head over this way towards the party area. But I want to see. I know somebody else is landing as well, so if you guys are landing, I might be able to take a quick spot of you on the way in. I'll keep my eyes in the air, see what's going on. I'll keep the music low too, so we can enjoy the ambient sounds as well as some of the sounds of the planes landing, which is just priceless, man. Viegas, thank you, man. Hello, welcome to the stream, my friend. We do have somebody landing right now. This thing cannot move fast enough. Does the airport have toilets animated? That would be an amazing Easter egg. Somebody should definitely animate the toilets. I don't think so. I highly doubt it. Highly, highly doubt it. Look at that hotel over there. Oh my god. Hey, that night lighting is on point, man. A good pilot goes around. What is that? What kind of plane is that? Is a TBM, it looks like? Yep. And ooh, came down a little rough, but not. It was all right. Not nice approach. Sounds good, JD. You can do a flight, Vatsim flight. So it doesn't have any lights over here, but over there, all this is lit up pretty well. Islander Club. What plane is that? There's two planes out there. See you, VDX. Thanks, man. Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Check your gear? Okay, it's down. I'm like, on my screen, you don't have a gear. Alright, I just want to check out this club over here real quick, and I'll change it back to daytime, because I personally would like to see it in the daytime. For those of you who were not here at the beginning. Which platform do I use? I'm on PC right now, Flight Channel M. Check this out, man. Check this out. Somebody's landing? They're about to. Look at that. Look at how the light, the colored light. That is sweet. Very well done. Very well done. This is dope. Look at that pool. That is cool. That is so dope. That is so dope. I'm sorry. That is just so freaking dope. All right. Changing the time because I want to see everything. Come on. There we go. All right. Somebody's landing. Oh, big boy. 787. Oh my god. Okay. On my screen, like you just smashed that thing. But it looks a lot better now. Oh, he disappeared. Never mind. Hassan, thank you for the subscription. Welcome to the Blue Arrow family, my friend. See you, Malfufi. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much, bro. All right, well, guys, I gotta head out too. I just want to come back and say goodbye to our all of our amazing supporters out here, having a good time, having a party. Yeah. Love it, love it, love it. She over here just walking, just walking. Just walking. All right, well, let's get out of here. Penguins, thank you for watching, my friend. Malfoof, thank you very much, my friend. Who else do we have in here? Santiago, thank you very much for hanging out with me today, my friend. Let's get over here. And just in case somebody happens to land, I want to see it. Valens, thank you very much for hanging out. Flight Channel, thank you for coming through. It's Dare, welcome and thank you very much for hanging out with us. JD Bear, thank you as well. CJ Aviation, Amir, who else is in here? Tino Star, Aviation and more. El Bat Pino, merci beaucoup, my friend. Thank you very much. Thomason, thank you again. Vinay, thank you. Kibbs, where are the dead bodies? I think they've already been hauled off. I think they're gone. I think they're already gone. I mean, I can just see that incident happening on YouTube, and there being like tons of like video footage of the landing gear just flying off and taking out like 50 people. Dean KSU, thank you very much as well. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Anyways, guys, I gotta go. Thank you guys so much for watching today. It's been amazing. It's been fun. It's been eventful. But until next time, remember you have 3 choices: give up, give in, or give it all. You got peace, love, and God bless you. I will see you guys next time, next video. I'm out. Cause I'm popping. Hey.
this a rebound, then it's robbing. Tasting with the fade, not the air, my hands rocking. When I link with ballpoint, you know it's knocking. I'm not the same. Thinking money made me change, nothing else to blame. Bougie stuck up in my way, singing Gucci gang. Gucci gang, think I'm Gucci Mane. I'm just playing in the cut, I got my Vans on. I'm not selfish, I get on and put my mans on. Always greedy since the day I got my first safe. 5'7", but I'm 6'8" when I stand on the money pals. Need a money counter, I broke my thumb from dumbing down. Wifey on my line, she told me to dumb it down. Mama on my line, asking how I'm dumbing now. I think you only love me cause I'm poppin'. This a layup, this a rebound, then it's robbing. Tasting with the fade, not the air, my hands rocking. When I link with ballpoint, you know it's not. Get out my way. I'm so unashamed. Throw it to my veins. Like my 2K green or blue, I'm not into games. Focus on your player's face while I'm stacking change. We throw out what you got on your whole crew late. Every time I drop it, knock you make the screw face. I can't stand to be around people who are two-faced. I can't stand to do some business if you're too late. I beat the beat defeated. I beat the beat mistreated. I beat the odds deleted. On top, I'm ODing. No rock star with these leather pants.